Hello, everyone. We're live here from the Medicarians Retiretech floor, and I am excited to introduce Brian Allen from the Twilight Wish Foundation joining us on Prime Life Podcast today. Brian, how's it going?
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here in Las Vegas at the Medicarians and the opportunity to promote Twilight Wish to all the listeners out there in the podcast organization.
Great. So before we jump in, let me also introduce here my co-host, Mary Crean. Mary, how's it going?
It's going really well because I'm here with all of you, and can you just feel the electricity in this room?
It's a lot of energy.
I mean, on this floor, it's everywhere, and it's about innovation, it's about helping people, it's about helping people in the retirement space before, after, during, and we all want to live better, live longer.
So speaking of at least better, or at least bettering this world, I'm going to turn it over to you, Brian, to talk to us about the Twilight Wish Foundation and some of the partnerships you have available.
Thank you so much. Well, I want to first point out that I was raised by my maternal grandmother, and she did a great job in teaching me all the things I need to do as a young man. So I have a soft spot in my heart for the elderly to start with. And about 6 months ago, I read an article in the Riverside, California paper of a woman in Hemet, California, who was granted a wish to finally, for the first time in her life, go visit Disneyland in Anaheim. She's a Disneyland fanatic, but she'd never been to the park. So this organization called Twilight Wishes had met up with her, and they gave her a limousine service ride and full cart, first class trip to Disneyland, and it made her life so much more memorable going forward. So when I saw that article, I reached out to the Twilight Wish Foundation, which is based out of Philadelphia, and introduced myself to a gentleman named Peter Stenson, the CEO. And it came to our awareness that there was no chapter in California at all. So Peter and I put our heads together, and we have now since started the Inland Empire chapter of Southern California for Twilight Wish. And we're just in the beginning stages, but we are so excited about the possibilities of giving just simple wishes to help the elderly have a better quality of life.
That's an amazing mission, and it kind of pulls at my heartstrings, because when I think about folks that have worked hard, have sort of done the right things, coming, stepping in and helping make sure that those final years have some sort of bright spot, just sounds like a really exciting moment. So I can see why that story drew you into working with the organization. So talk to us a little bit about what the chapter's doing in the area, how the process works for granting the wishes, or a little bit more about how it all works.
Thank you so much. Well, first off, our vision, the Twilight Wish vision is that our vision is to make the world a nicer place to age, one Twilight Wish at a time. So what we do is Twilight Wish grants the wishes of low-income seniors who are 65 and older, or a resident of a nursing facility. And the recipients, they must have an income of less than 200% of poverty level, which is about $30,000. So we want to make sure our wishes are generated to those who are truly in need. Mm-hmm. And to date, we have granted over 5,900 wishes since 2003 when our process started. Twilight Wish Foundation came to fruition, or the starting process, with a woman named Cass Forkin. She was in a little diner having breakfast, and she watched as several elderly women reached into their pocketbook and scrambled for pennies and nickels to pay their bill and the tip. So when she looked across at that, she said, I'm going to pay their breakfast bill. And it came to her mind that, why not, let's try to go global with this to make it easier for the elderly to have just a nice meal at a diner. So Cass, we can't thank you enough for starting it in 2003. And then again, going forward, that we've had almost 6,000 wishes granted. Our wishes are more designed for helping the elderly, again, like I said, to have a better quality of life. It's not per se to go meet Taylor Swift or, see a football team. Our wishes are basically four in kind. One is simple needs, which is like giving them an upgrade to their lift chairs, their hearing aids, maybe a new appliance. There's also celebrating a life, which is a meaningful and nostalgic wish granted for hospice patients or seniors with limited life expectancies. Examples would be a family reunion, a visit back to their hometown, or a similar wish that just brings joy to the recipient. And then a third wish that we would give is living life to the fullest. Examples would be including their first time riding a motorcycle, or finally riding a motorcycle again when they haven't done it for years. Maybe meeting a celebrity, and one that we've putting together recently in my area in the Inland Empire is to get a senior who has never skydived in his life, and he's a double amputee. So in Southern California, we have several skydiving enterprises, and they are graciously going to grant us the opportunity give this person a wish to take him up 13,000 feet and boot him out of a plane. And he's so excited about that. And then lastly, our wishes are like with the veterans. 1/3 of all of our wishes granted are for veterans. Veterans' wishes can fall into any of the other categories, but it's a privilege to make sure that we honor and thank the veterans for their service.
So at NASA, we're really focused on those pre-retirement or in retirement, be able to fulfill their goals, whatever those may be, financial goals, income goals, but really being able to sustain the quality of life that's important to them. And so when I think about some of the things that you're talking about, well, we're not talking about products or annuities or any of the sort of financial products. There's a synergy around just that ability to make those types of dreams a reality for seniors who may be lower income or disadvantaged to what you described. So it just sounds like really great work. How does it work from like a volunteer's perspective? Are you actively recruiting volunteers? Are you looking more for companies and partners to fulfill these wishes, or is it a mix?
It's a mix, and the answer to that is both. We are always looking for volunteers because every wish that we grant takes some time in putting together. Aside from the person just asking for the wish, we want to make sure we give them something else above and beyond. Like, what's your favorite restaurant? A Chili's. So we're going to plan it so that our volunteers would need to go to Chili's and set up the meal for them at Chili's. Then if they're going to go someplace, let's get a limousine service involved. Let's take them in a limo for the first time in their lives. So we need a volunteer to help reach out to the limo services. And we develop partnerships with those limousine services who then grant us a free ride for the day type thing. So yes, our volunteer base is simple. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take much time at all to be a volunteer, not many hours per month, but we do need those folks who maybe even think outside the box of making a wish from what the person asked to just something so glamorous that the person would never ever forget about it. And then developing partnerships. That is the biggest part of what our goal is now in the Inland Empire, but also for Peter Stinson, the CEO, and across the United Nations, the other chapters that we have, that we would have health organizations who are so mindful of the elderly and their needs that they would provide maybe one time a year a scholarship, a fund that could grant that person's wish. And if we can have it where our partnerships are something that we can maintain for year over year over year, so once a year that company, that organization would grant us the money for that wish, that would be just off the top. So that is what we're here for, Medicarians for, and I cannot thank all of the people here. Just by walking around with my shirt on that says Twilight Wishes, people have come up and put their hand out, where are you from and what do you do? And I get what you just said earlier, they become emotional that they didn't realize that there's something out there for the elderly who have given us so much in life. They have so much knowledge and so much love, and they've been through so many hardships that we just don't even accept or acknowledge anymore from what we've got going through our life. Like a microwave, to them, not having a microwave in their house, we just look at it like it's just common knowledge. But to a person who's never had a microwave, and the ease that would make for their life is just so beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the simple things, right?
Amen.
For them, it's a simple wish, and I love that the foundation takes the simple or the more humble wish and takes it up a notch, makes it a little bit more than they could ever dream of. So it's a wonderful mission, and I hope that you get lots of new partners. I think the idea of corporations being able to sponsor a wish per year, or whatever the frequency might be, is a great opportunity. It's a win-win for both organizations.
And I can't thank you enough for just helping us to get the word out. So thank you so much for your organization. It's been a godsend. To meet Mary and yourself this morning, you've been so kind, just over the top.
Well, you've inspired us, absolutely. And I will say before we close this episode or this piece, Brian was telling me, he was in corporate life and he retired, and he's busier in retirement. So he hasn't really retired, he's unretired, as we like to say on Prime Life Podcast. And one of the things, Brian, and Tees has heard this before, is many of our guests on Prime Life talk about this being successful in retirement, or whatever your situation is, about living with purpose. And you shared this work, right? This is a lot of purpose. And you also run marathons, but maybe that's another episode with Brian at some other point because he's going to Boston for
part two.
Yeah, you've done like 10 marathons or something crazy like that. But it's been wonderful to meet you. What's the best way folks can get a hold of you if they're interested in learning more about your foundation or the Twilight Wish Foundation, or maybe they want to get involved in some way and they know that right away? Where would you tell them to go?
Well, thank you so much. You will be able to read and see visual pictures of many of the wishes that we've granted, and I cannot emphasize that it will bring a tear to your eye when you go to our website. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional now. Our organization is www.twilightwish.org. And go on it, take a look and see what we've done in the past, and read what our vision is. And I cannot believe that anybody would not just jump to an opportunity to donate to this great opportunity, this great organization.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you sharing with us, and great work. Keep it up, and thanks again.
Thank you, both of you, so much.
Thanks, Brian. We love your.
Hello and welcome. We are at Medicarians 2024, and I would be remiss to say that it's also Retiretech. So for those of you who have been listening, last year we mentioned it. This is our third year. First year was in Hartford, Connecticut. Second year was in New York, New York. What better place to have year 3 than in Las Vegas, Nevada? So we're excited to be here. We're meeting really interesting individuals, really interesting distribution conversations, CEO roundtables, panel discussions, investment, where is the future? But out of the corner of my eye, I spotted somebody hustling hard. So that is where our interview comes from today, is people working the floor, sharing their stories, and really it's about what the company does. So, hey, thank you for agreeing to be on here today, Dalton.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and just by having to being positioned next to each other, we're here. We just talked, and I feel like I'm talking to a little bit of some celebrities here. I feel like you turned on the podcast magic once we hopped on. So I'm impressed.
Thank
impressed.
you.
Laura's really good at that.
Yeah.
She is.
We may have done it a few times.
Just a
Yeah,
few.
it sounds like I'm on for some professionals here.
That's good. That's the way it should be. So Mary, you've been here throughout the day doing a number of interviews. Mm-hmm. Tell us, what are you most excited about for our conversation today, right now?
What I'm most excited about is individuals like Dalton, and he'll talk a little bit about what he does and why he does what he does, is the passion that individuals have in the space. They've created companies based on some tragedies, some human experiences that maybe were not so optimistic. But the compassion and really the love that people have to really want to help people and help companies do things better, and adapt to the fact that the one thing we know is nothing stays the same, and we have to keep up with the changing times. I know I'm dating myself a little bit, but we do, and there's so much innovation, and we've got AI that we're working with, and it's super exciting. So, Dalton, tell us who you are, your title, your company, and why you do what you do.
And I'm excited you asked it and you posed it that way, because I think I have a pretty good answer. My name's Dalton Miller. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I'm the president and founder of RetireFlow. We're a brand new service for Medicare agents that helps them collect lists of drugs, doctors, hospitals, pharmacies, permission to contact, and a scope of appointment form by simply just sending a link. A couple years ago, I joined my dad's Medicare agency in Columbus, Ohio called Seniority Benefit Group. And my grandfather, Grandpa Joe, called me after seeing a Joe Namath commercial, or might have been a Medicare Martha commercial, and asked me, am I getting the benefits that I deserve? And many of I'm sure your listeners, if you turned on a TV in the past 5 years, you've seen these TV commercials. These TV commercials are incredibly misleading. Seniors don't know what Medicare is about. Medicare is about making sure your health regimen is taken care of and covered, and when you're in trouble or your health changes, that your plan will continue to cover you. Sure, those shiny benefits are awesome. They're available in all the plans that most Medicare agents offer. But what those TV commercials do is they mislead seniors about what Medicare is about. So we developed this brand new, awesome, super senior-friendly survey for Medicare agents to help collect what's important in this process. So that way they can provide good, thoughtful enrollment where Susie Senior, who I call every client or prospect, knows that if she puts good in to our survey, she's going to get good out from her Medicare agent. So I come to you today with a burning passion and angst against some of these TV commercials. We want to protect seniors by empowering their agents with data.
Oh, I love that. We're all about protection, empowerment, really understanding and getting to the truth of things and sharing that. So through our journey here at Retiretech Medicarians, yesterday there was a speaker, Joe Jordan. He's a friend of the show, and Joe made an interesting point that I think is worth repeating, right? So purpose is what happens inside other people when you do what you do.
Yeah.
So it's not even just the purpose of what I'm doing, it's what happens inside of you. And I think this is an important thing to bring up here, because the work that you're doing and the solution that you're providing is not for you. It is not for yourselves or for others. It's really for the greater good. It's education, it's protection, it's making sure people have what they need for really the basics of life.
I absolutely agree, and I'm going to also say, my parents are still alive, God love them, 87,
Awesome.
86.
That's great.
But to your point earlier, Dalton, I had to, in a nice way, say to my mom, she was watching TV as she does.
Yeah.
She kind of made the same comment, and I said to her, and I can say this, she knows I love her dearly, and she's a brilliant woman, but I said, step away from the TV, please.
Yes.
Do not pick up the phone. It's not what it appears to be. But I'm glad she shared it with me, because I know we've had guests on our podcast, Prime Life Podcast, who've talked about some of the things that seniors have experienced where they've been misled or actually scammed. And
Yes.
so I'm not saying, I'm using the word scam, but truthfully, you don't know what you don't know. And even so, Medicare and other, just insurance in general, it's complicated. We love insurance. That's why we're here. And we want to help people, but it's complicated. And so it sounds like companies like yours are trying to, best they can, arm the agents that are
Yes.
out there who love their clients and customers and want to help them.
Yeah.
And what good, and this is what I shared with my grandfather, is what good is a shiny benefit if the doctor you've been going to for 20 years is all of a sudden out of network?
Right.
What good is a free gym membership if the prescription that used to cost you $20 now costs you $200? And seniors are an incredibly vulnerable population, and are getting flooded with all kinds of different marketing materials about what's important in this process. But at its core, and this doesn't benefit me in any particular fashion, but to say that you need to rely on a local agent that you trust, somebody that you know. If somebody's calling you and saying, "Hey, your Medicare plan is going to expire if you don't give me all of this personal health information," that raises a red flag for you. And I would tell you that it's happening more and more and more every year. And the reason why it's happening is because it's working. And so we have to protect our seniors. We owe it to them to make sure that their health regimen is considered in this process. So I'm so excited to share this platform with you today, and what cool thing you're doing here with Retiretech. And so thanks again for having me on. I mean, we're so excited. We're a brand new service, and you can check us out at retireflow.com if you're a Medicare agent interested in learning more.
Oh, we love it. Thank you so much for sitting with us today. We're going to let you go back and hustle, because clearly it's working, and we're going to help you, hustle in a virtual sense. So thanks so much for sharing your time with us today.
Goodness, thank you.
And we're excited to share your story.
Yeah, well, a privilege to be on here. And yeah, go check us out at retireflow.com. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Dalton.
Thanks, Dalton.
Hi, this is Paul Tyler, and welcome to another episode of That Annuity Show, broadcasting live from the Fontainebleau Hotel in lovely Las Vegas. Background sound is, I think, booths being constructed. We've plunked here, talked our way in, and we've got our mic set up. And Tisa, great to see you.
Good morning.
Good
Excited
morning.
to be here. It's Vegas day 2. We're rolling.
Day 2, and guess who our guest is? Is none other than the legendary Joe Jordan. Joe, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks a lot, Paul. I appreciate the invite and looking forward to it.
Yeah. And you were great yesterday.
Oh, thanks.
You were good enough to come and talk about the importance and significance of what we're doing in our business. I think I think people need that in this business even today. Yeah. We talk about innovation, talk about technology, but what's our purpose?
Well, I think, look, I'm celebrating the 50th year in financial services this year.
50 years.
So I think I've had a pretty good view of how the world has changed, and I did it at relatively high levels. It's not like I was hanging around. I'm here. But anyway, when I first got in the business, it was life insurance. It was Home Life, a company that doesn't exist anymore, and it was very product specific. It was all whole life and uncompetitive term, and don't sell term because you're a termite, that type of thing. So and then stockbrokers did stocks and bonds, and banks did banks. So that's just the way it was. And then after about 5 years of that, towards the early 80s, I ran insurance sales at PaineWebber, and that was the first time that there started to be crossover, but it was product specific. And the only reason PaineWebber was doing it was because they wanted to diversify their revenue streams. This wasn't let's take care of our clients. This is let's get some money. But the influence of the brokerage community, the stock brokerage community, was that they saw some of the investment purposes and tax benefits of insurance products, and specifically annuities, which wasn't really part of the culture on the life insurance side, because that's just the way the culture was. So that influenced it, and it was there. The other thing that I saw in the 80s was the fact that it was baby boomers. So I'm born in 51. It's kind of the early stage. So a lot of this thing is demographically driven, and so everyone was wild about accumulation. So everyone was looking at that. There was no plan in terms of what that income would turn into. It was the dawn of the 401k, which, by the way, how that got started. That was a side event for Xerox executives, no joke, to do that. And then what happened is the investment community got in the middle of it, said this would be a great boon for us to create that. So it was the diminution of defined benefit plans to swap it for 401k plans. And we were all baby boomers, right? So we were masters of the universe. So we could even do brain surgery on ourselves if we applied ourselves. So let's do our own pension plan. And it was right in the midst of people having no idea of how to invest, And that's the importance of what we do, because we can aid people to do something that no one can do unaided, which is how to put together the right type of retirement program. So that was it, and it was all about who had the greatest returns and all that stuff. So that was part of it. And then I went to MetLife. So what I had to do is I had to get stockbrokers to do insurance. And then I went to MetLife. I had to get insurance people to do investments. And so that was the late 80s, and 96% of the business when I got there was whole life insurance.
Okay, so I've just got to stop you there.
Sure.
Joe, and this is a Joeism.
Okay.
Which was less hard, getting the stockbrokers to sell insurance or the life insurance people sell annuities?
Life insurance people to sell investments was a lot easier, because they had a chip on their shoulder, and we're insurance guys, and those guys are cool, and we ain't that cool. And you know what? They were just as uncool as the life insurance guys, but they didn't know it, In fact, one of the things I stumped them with, listen to this. So this is the late 80s, early 90s. I said, what's the number investment vehicle that the PaineWebber client base has? And you know what? Everyone was guessing. It was CDs. So no one would have thought that. So, they weren't all that different, but in terms of but it's just a culture. So that I saw. And then it started moving towards planning, which made a lot of sense. But it was a left-brain analytical approach. It had a vocabulary all its own, and it really didn't connect with people. And to some extent, it was like superior, because someone's going, I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but I don't want to challenge it because I'll look like a dope. So it was kind of skewed, but at least it was numbers-driven, and there was a logic behind it. But again, it looked at a broader aspect of what people do to break out of the product thing, to do multiple products to solve multiple. So it's the evolution. You can't really cut where it went from where it had been. And now I think the big change that's going on is the idea of connecting with people. As I said, now the baby boomers, because it's the pig and the python, that was the big thing that was going on then, was what meets their needs. And so now it's shifted to income. And I'll tell you this, using how many assets people have as a measure of wealth is a recent phenomenon. It has not been that historically. Jane Austen, early 1800s. She did the book, Mr. Darcy was in it. What was it? Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice, right. The way she described Mr. Darcy, the billionaire, was not that he had £1 million, it's that he got $10,000 a year. So ROI, me growing up, is return on investment. Now it's reliability of the income. And so that's another fundamental change that's starting to go on, and that's demographic and it's moving. But I do think the other part of it that is starting to come out, and this just came to me recently. There's a guy named Gary Sirach who wrote a book, How to Retire and Not Die, and that's the title of it. And so he just began to notice, because all of us, we were obsessed with your business ends with clients when you tell them how much money they got and what they could do, but there was never any further discussion to help people understand how the changes are going to happen. And everybody thinks retirement's going to be this great, wonderful experience. Well, 6 months after playing golf every day and smoking cigars, some people are bored out of their gourd. And the other thing that's happening demographically is people are living longer. So guess what? You got to figure out what the hell you're going to do when you retire. And one of the astronauts said it best. He said, if you think going to the moon is hard, try staying home. So go ahead.
So with the longevity point you just made, can you talk a little bit? I feel like obviously you've been on our show a lot, so you're a return guest, and we're happy to have you back. The process of finding purpose in those later years, like what's the role in the agent in that? How can an agent really stand out if they can, shepherd through that conversation?
Yeah, we had Gary come on, and he said he used Gary Sirach, whose book you put up there. He you know him, and he said he talks in terms of the marathon. What are you going to do for the next 26 years? Because that's the average length. And it was an interesting analogy, but a lot of the stuff you're talking about is it's all connected. You talked about isolation. You talked about loneliness. What was the impact of loneliness? You said it was...
Well, I'll tell you, the point is that a lot of our discussions is always about product and stuff like that. And we think we're client-centric, but we're not. In fact, I would say financial services is on the lower end of that particular spectrum. And, the thing that turned me on 2012, I read a research thing from one of the big research groups, I can't remember the name. And it took a look at different jobs that people have, professions, and they listed them from a standpoint of not just suitability, but believability and credibility. And the only ones below us were car salesmen and Congress. So I figured that was a problem.
Low bar.
So that's why I wrote the book, Living a Life of Significance. My focus was on advisors, to wake them up to the fact that you have a big impact on people's lives, now more so than ever, because people are living a lot longer. Look, when you retired at 65 and you took a boat to Ireland and you were dead at 67, who cared? Okay? But now people are living a lot longer. So the next movement we have to make people aware of is the fact that what are they going to do? And in fact, in 2020, McKinsey came out with a study, and they said that within 10 years, this came out in 2020, within 10 years, most financial are going to drop down the importance of their financial advice and be almost like life coaches.
Yeah, therapist.
Yeah, right. Right.
Well, in particular, when you're thinking about insurance, right? Because you're dealing with multi-generations. So you're not just helping your client, you're kind of walking through the adult children through the process, if they're included, spouses, just the dynamics of families have shifted over the years as well.
All right. Well, yes, you're right. And so it's the idea of doing a plan to make that happen.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing that happens. When people retire, they lose routine, they lose identity, they lose relationships, they lose purpose, and they lose power. And this is on top of, because sometimes we just look at our little corner of the world. People have never felt more isolated and alone. You had the decline of religion and family values and the rise of social media. That's helped to do it. Social media has not brought people together, it's isolated them. Then you had the pandemic. And so what happens is the Surgeon General just came out, that was what you were looking for before, came out and said that people who have a profound sense of isolation is equivalent to smoking 25 cigarettes a day. They die. So that's why I think it's something we can fill. With this rise of AI and all the stuff you are involved with, Paul, the differentiator of face-to-face is the idea of more of a human connection and to talk about things that they normally don't talk about.
Yeah, the technology is interesting. The need's the same. I think you're right about we've lost a sense of community. It's weird. In some ways, we know more about people and stay in touch with more friends than we ever have, but is it real or is it superficial? And
yeah. It's a little bit of like the one-upping, right? The surface level of staying in touch just to see who went on the best trip last, whose kid doing the best, who's going to the Ivy League, all of these things that kind of one up the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, does technology bring people together? Not Joe. Did you remember the movie Her? Do you ever see this guy?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, he fell in love with the voice.
Yeah, there's this company called Replica. Have you seen this?
No, that I haven't seen.
Oh
no.
My God! So they have AI friends you can get, and they 2 years, a year and a half ago, they're up to like 10 million members. The New York Times just did a video with showing the people who've literally fallen in love with their AIs.
Oh God!
Can you imagine?
No.
This is so.
No. Well, that might be because they are lonely and disconnected. So that's even furthering the gap.
Yeah. So does it help or hurt it? No. So colleges. This is interesting. They actually, I know a couple of colleges. In fact, I'm not sure if UConn was one of them or not, who have like a chatbot at school, and you can start the counseling with the chatbot, and then the chatbot refers it off to the counselor at a certain point. Now, I don't know. I don't know where this. Does the technology keep pushing us apart or create an artificial bubble around Joe?
I don't know. What I'm seeing is these changes happen and it's disoriented. It disorients.
Yes.
People.
Disruption. Yeah.
Is the idea of the business that we're in has to be more human connected.
Yeah.
And so it's less about the numbers. Look, the business is not a story of numbers, it's the number of stories. And the stories are the things that connect people towards, oh yeah, I could see that happening,
Yeah.
And that's something that, well, who knows what the robots will be able to do. But I just see that as in terms of going forward, for us to find the place, because everyone's saying, what's the place for someone on a face-to-face basis? Well, as I said, no one on their own. People are a failed investor. They need someone. It's about behavior. All right, do you know that the best performing fund during the 10-year 2000 to 2009, right, the dead decade, right, was CGM. Do you know what the average investor got during those 10 years? Its return was about 18%, and the average investor got negative 11. And why is that? Because in 2007, it went up like 80%.
Yeah.
The next year, it went down 40%, so everyone rushed in and rushed out again. So it's really the idea of having some form of discipline and someone who can help you through that. And it's about behavior. So it's not about all the measures we use. People, roast annuity products. Well, the fees are too high and it's very complicated. Yeah, they're complicated, but you know what? It delivers value. And the other thing is the fees are too high. It's not about fees. It's not about performance. I had big variable annuities in 07, 08. You know what? I didn't move at all. When the market went down 56%, people tore their hair off, and they never come back from that. So that's the really big connection in terms of the value of the fee that someone would charge. And here's one other thing: a decade. The right advice at the right time can be worth a decade's worth of fees. And I always use this symbol, like when people are about to panic and get out, you have to say the three most important words for that situation. And that is, don't do that.
Those are very important words. It's the trust fee, right? It's not the planning fee. It's the trust fee.
That's
Trust
right.
me.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Don't do that. Let me think back to my life where somebody should have said that to me.
Timing is everything.
Well, and your point, what is it? Price is a function of value, right?
Price is only an issue in the absence of value.
In the absence of value.
Right.
Yeah.
So then there was like Susie Orman did this thing. I'm talking about VAs now.
Yeah.
She said it's a ripoff. It does all this stuff like that. So some woman called in and said, we have all of our money in a VA, and this is early '90s when the volatility was up, and the account balance went down by $70,000, and my husband died, and the insurance company gave me all the money back. So what's wrong with that? So Susie goes, well, in that case, it makes sense. It's not about the math. It's the consequences of the decisions that we make.
Yeah.
And here's the point: no one should be berating certain products because they don't like it, and it's not about the math. And some people might feel a lot more comfortable, sleep at night, don't have indigestion when they know that certain guarantees are in place, and that's worth something.
Do you have a comment? So yesterday we had a panel with the commissioners, and one of them mentioned we're in the help business.
Yeah.
You just kind of react to that, or it's kind of in theme with what you've been talking about. But the idea that insurance is really about helping people. It's not about, to your point, the product and all of that. It's about the help that it puts in place, or the protection that it puts in place.
Yeah, well, I'm not an expert, on the health side, but that's why I'm here, okay? Because you have to, in this business, begin to grow and see other parts of it. Medicare supplement, with an aging population, right? That's where you got to be.
Yeah.
And what I'm urging is that I see a lot of advisors who say, I don't do this Medicare stuff, I don't do that. And the Medicare stuff, I don't know about that. You got to do it all. And you either do it by learning it,
Right.
or partnering.
Yeah,
and
bringing
those
in
are
a partner.
They are great opportunities here, and that has to be taken care of.
Yeah.
It could be one of the single largest expenses that people incur, in their retirement age,
Sure.
depending on what conditions or diseases pop up. So it's got to be a part of the conversation.
And it's very complicated, and so that's where trust has to come into place.
Yeah.
And
But even when you talk about isolation, I think about even for seniors who lose relationships, lose partners, even if they're not sick, the value of being able to move into one of those types of communities where they don't have the isolation. But if you haven't planned well for that, it's not $1,000 a month to move into one of those communities. So thinking through, that shift to recreate a new community and have some companionship in those later years.
that's a great idea, and that's what the real estate industry is.
Yeah, it's moving that
towards
way.
that,
But the cost of it, I don't know that people plan for, and they don't expect it.
No, I think you got a very valid point there. But the other thing too is that's where I think things like fraternals have a great advantage here, and they don't get it. I mean, they do stuff. The way to live a significant life is to positively impact others, and that's the real juice of it. That's the end of the day. That's the way human beings are. I believe are layered. So if you got something to do to wake up in the morning, more so if it's helping others, is a great way to begin to start focusing. And I think that's something we in our business need to undertake, because it separates us more from the technology and the number side.
Yeah. Well, maybe just talk about, take us up to now in this event. It's interesting. What's new is old, and sometimes in this stuff. And I think, Joe, you were a leader out there, in seeing how to implement technology. Remember the LEADS system you put in place?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Irma.
Oh yeah.
Irma, and Tisa, I think Joe, when I left Med, I think 20% of our sales were coming off of the LEADS program.
It was. What we did was we created something called legislative birth dates. And so so with MetLife we could do it because we had millions of clients. So every time someone turned 59, 62, or 70, they got a letter, because they could do something. 59 and a half, they could take money out. 62 was Social Security or not. And 70 was, now you have to take money out. But I was focusing really on 62 because I was trying to explain the idea of income. And majority of people take Social Security at 62, which is madness. You wait to 70, it's 76% more. And on average, right, you're going to live a lot longer than that. So that should be in the planning. So that was the initial start. So we would send out leads like that. And it was good for salespeople because they could be relatively new in the business, but they could focus on that. And then the biggest problem people had was, who am I going to call? Well, you had this whole list of people. So that was using Social Security as a way of talking to people about a lifetime guaranteed income that does not stop regardless of how long you live. Was the centerpiece of it. So we did in 6 years $240 million of GDC.
Yeah, well, it's what's old is new. We just came out NIA. Talk to Joe about what our new product does.
Yeah, so we launched a product just a few months ago, NASA Income Accelerator, and it's really focused on exactly that, optimizing Social Security, explaining the value of delaying, even if we can stretch people to 65, 67, if 70 feels too far out, right? Just even the difference 3 or 4 years can make, and then our product sort of stands in the gap, helps them get that income up front, wait on Social Security.
I see. So wait till you get to 70.
And then turn that income down, turn on Social Security. Right. And help them delay without sacrificing too much of whatever those goals might be in those years. So.
And guess what? So we're trying to explain the same concept, which is delay Social Security.
Right.
Wait, now, so
it's a Social Security bridge.
It is. So in the simplest terms, okay, our old product gave you one check. Tell us when you want to take it, and we'll tell you how much it is. In this one, we're saying, you got to do 2 checks. Tell us your bigger check, and then we'll give you a smaller check. When Social Security comes on. But Joe, it's still hard. This is still hard to explain to people how to do the math, how long you're going to live, when you plan to die. And so it's interesting. Same issues, same problems, different age. What do you see that's new here?
Well, you hit on what I was trying to say. It's about behavior. And a lot of times it's not logical. And so a lot of financial services is blocked into numbers and logic, and people don't get it.
Yeah.
And it has to be translated into how they live and what they do. And let me tell you what this means for you. And when I started this in 2004, everyone thought I was crazy. You know what the big thing was? Take Social Security now because it's going away.
Yeah.
It'll be gone.
Yeah.
And so maybe they'll grandfather me. Because no one had the idea of income. It was all asset gathering. It was all accumulation noted. And then it was turning into income. And they didn't realize the power of that. And no one realized, too, that the income can go away. I mean, for all of the criticism that we get from some of the big critics out there, they can never say, you can't outlive this income.
No.
Because they can run out. And when you run out of income, it doesn't happen on Thursday. You see it coming 6 years from now. You watch it slowly deplete, and that'll ruin your health, right? So
The worry,
right?
Yeah. So I don't know, Tisa, we're I think we. We're at the end
coming
here.
up at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I think you kind of hit on it, Paul, just the idea of the same problems we were looking to solve 20, 25 years ago. They're still here. We're still talking about Social Security, might not be there, right? But if I think about, we were talking about maybe the harm of technology. I'll talk a little bit about the help of technology, and we do have even at NASA some of the things we're working on to just basically demonstrate and explain the story and to explain the value. So Paul was talking about the first check and the second check. That can be expressed very visually, and we're using some technology to do that. So you come in, you tell us the numbers you're looking for, and we visually say, here are the 2 checks we can write you. So that's less about a robot or AI. It's more around, to your point, human behavior and just visually saying, here's this is what we can do for you, giving that sense of, I'll say, security, knowing that the income's going to be there and you can't outlive it. So there are some ways, it's not as sophisticated of technology, but it's still using technology as a help, not a hurt. So.
Well, I think your idea is great. It's a focus.
Yeah.
It's the idea of, we'll make this easy for you, that when you hit 62, we'll give you the difference. And then when you hit 70, you'll get that much more, and it's there. Yeah. That takes when you change people's opinions of things or behavior, you got to say it like I used to say 11,000 times. Because after you say it like 15 times, someone says, that's the second time I heard that. I might have to, focus on it.
Oh, yes.
So it's all about behavior. It's not about efficiency. It's about, can I comprehend this, and do I understand it, and do I value it? And the whole idea of getting 76% more for the rest of your life. And then some egghead comes up with, but the dollar purchasing of that, oh, for God's sake, I mean, and that's true but you have an income that lasts for the rest of your life.
Right.
And so making it simple and focusing on that is critical. I think you're going to do a great job with that product.
Yeah, well, hey, Joe, listen, thanks for coming by. Thanks for all you've done and you continue to do. So, can't wait to we have you back again.
That'd be great.
All right. Tisa, thank you.
All-time record guest on That Annuity Show. Thanks, Joe.
24. I'm here with Tisa. Tisa, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Mary. We're in the middle of day 2, and so I'm excited to talk to our next guest this afternoon.
Can you believe it was almost a year that we were here before, and here we are again in 2024?
Time flies. But we made a lot of great connections in 2023, and I know this week's going to be the same.
Absolutely. We have an amazing guest. Her name is Nicole Hardy, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, tell us what she does, her company, and what she's learning so far at this amazing Retiretech Medicarians conference.
Thanks, Mary. Hi, Tisa. Mary, ladies, I'm so excited to be here with you all today. My name is Nicole Hardy. I'm head of corporate strategic partnerships for a company called LifeShare. This has been an amazing experience so far. Seeing all of the innovation in AgeTech and Retiretech, we fit right in. So LifeShare is a comprehensive legacy management tool that allows individuals to upload their insurance policy docs, last will and testament, anything that's important to them that might be important for your loved ones to have access to in the event that you pass away. We've got a proprietary technology that allows the information to automatically be shared with the designated individuals on a time release schedule. So let's just say, you're here one day and you're gone tomorrow. Well, when you're gone tomorrow, there's no frantic searching for documents. That information's automatically shared with who you'd like to have it with. So LifeShare is excited to be here.
Can you, Nicole, talk a little bit about the start of LifeShare, when the company was started, and maybe a little bit behind the start, the mission, the why, kind of where the idea came from?
Absolutely. And so LifeShare was technically born in 2022. Our founder, Mr. Michael Swift, experienced a tragic death in his family. His sister's husband passed away. And during that process, he realized that everything was everywhere. Like, where is the information? Where are the policy docs? Where's the will? What's going on? And he's a telecommunications engineer by trade, so he's used to putting things together and finding solutions. And so he went back home and said there has to be a better way, and he began to draw out the concept that is LifeShare. And so I'm a founding team member as well. I came on in 2022 to help perfect that vision and bring it to life. And I also had experienced loss. I lost my father in 2017. I was 8 months pregnant. It was a very tough time, but I grew up in a household that was a little bit different than most households. I had a dad that had a black file cabinet, and from the time I turned 10 on, my dad would say, every time he saw me, "What do you do if something happens to me?" And as a kid, it's like, I go in the black file cabinet and I get the attorney's information. But as I grew up, as uncomfortable as it was to hear that from my dad, one day something really did happen to him. He died of a tragic heart aneurysm and he dropped dead immediately. When the paramedics approached, they told me that my dad had the folder from the file cabinet with the directions literally in his hand, and he dropped dead. And so I had a why that was really big, because I did have that organization that helped me be allowed to grieve. Like, I understood my dad's last wishes. My dad wasn't ill. This was a sudden death. But I saw the importance of having those conversations with your family, right? Having a call to action, some process in place for what is inevitably going to happen to us all. And so I was excited to help, take my dad's black file cabinet and turn it into a technology-based solution that could help everyone have a peace of mind with their legacy management.
That's an awesome story. We love to hear the origin and the founder stories. And I didn't know what you were going to say, but I'm just sitting here smiling. Different situation. I lost my father in 2021, and I'm getting goosebumps. It wasn't a black file cabinet. It was a wood file cabinet or wood drawer in his desk, but same thing. Every single thing was in order, and I feel so lucky and so blessed that we were allowed to grieve because we didn't have to go into that immediate shock. And it was the shock of him losing him, but not the chaos of trying to figure it all out. We had the plan we needed, and we knew his wishes. It was still hard, but it would have been 10 times harder had not everything been organized. So I'm getting
goosebumps because
I'm
it's
sitting here smiling you just kind of never know passing through people's lives and their stories. So the point where it just really made me kind of perk up is the idea of taking that black file cabinet or that wooden desk drawer and turning it into a digital safe, a digital vault. So I can see a lot of reasons that this is important. So I guess my next question for you, Nicole, is talk to me about how you're getting your story out there, how you're getting the product out there, because it feels like half technology, half resource, half education, half making people understand why this is important.
Absolutely. And so that's a big part of us being here at Medicarians 2024. We focus a lot on corporate partnerships, so partnering with life insurance companies and agents that are already having those legacy conversations with people that are interested in preparing their families, right? Whether that's some sort of whole life or term life policy, or these are people that are already thinking, I need to get my plans in order. And so we do partner with agencies and agents, and they are able to provide LifeShare as a value-added resource to their clients, or even the larger companies to their agents. And we are really big on high touch. We're technology, but again, the same way that you and I have stories, and our stories are a little bit on the brighter end because, we did have parents that had things in order. But there are so many people that we run across that have stories on the other end, right? Just like our founder had a story on the other end, where is everything? We can't grieve. And so even though we are onboarding some phenomenal corporate partnerships, we're really big on the education side of what LifeShare is, right? And not just, hey, onboard all of your clients or all of your people, but really being able to connect with the end user still, being able to connect with the agents and educate them on the LifeShare promise and kind of how we've created what we've created and how you can customize it for yourself or your client.
How do you take away maybe some of the hesitation? As you know, anything new, it's like I've always done it this way, or that sounds interesting, but I don't know. What do you say? And could you give us some tips as to what individuals or companies should think about as they're very interested in what you have to offer, to put their mind at ease a little bit? Can you talk a little bit about the steps?
Great question, Mary. As we all know, innovation is exciting and it's also scary, right? And so when you're pioneering something, and there are other, great resources that are a little similar, but they're not exactly what we are. So we're not necessarily the first, but we're the first to do it the way that we're doing it. We do have a proprietary technology that makes us a little bit different. So when we're having these conversations with potential partners or even end users, right, we talk a lot about our cybersecurity processes, right? The fact that although we are a newer company, we've got enterprise-grade technology, we've got enterprise-grade processes. So we've done the hard work prior to coming to market so that we are well prepared. We've got a phenomenal team. We've got a phenomenal CTO. And so we took this, we didn't build this oh my gosh, we're going to build this great technology and we're all going to get super rich. We built this we are going to provide that same peace of mind that we needed in our lives or we had in our lives to the masses. And so, again, that educating the client or the end user or the potential partner on the processes that we've taken internally to cross all of our T's, dot all of our I's, the systems that we work with, and also having the conversation on how we can integrate directly into potential partners' technology that they already have, right? And so their tech teams can get comfortable with what we've created and understand what we've created, and then also provide that solution to their end users.
Sounds like a great opportunity. I love the idea. Tisa, do you have any final thoughts?
So I'm going to give you a final question, and then we'll move into final thoughts. And thank you for your time today. So my question for you is just being a younger company, right? A couple years into your business model, I'm curious to the extent you can share, because I know there might be some secret recipe things cooking up. What's on the horizon for LifeShare? Maybe 3 years, 5 years, or even next 18 months. Like, are there sort of next products, next innovations that you guys are looking to broaden or add on to your offerings?
We are looking to truly disrupt this AgeTech, Retiretech space in a phenomenal way. And so, yes, we have a roadmap that is full of innovation. Users can look forward to more tools, more resources. We have a community side that would also connect our users with everything they need, whether it be an attorney, an estate planner, a financial advisor. We've got some AI, cooking up. So our 18-month roadmap is chock full of some really cool innovation while still being an approachable and user-friendly resource, especially to that 50 and up space, right? And so our goal is to keep a solution that is easy to use. Just a quick story. My grandma is 93. My grandpa's 95. Today is their 69th wedding anniversary.
Amazing.
Wow.
And I just spoke with her because I sent them Uber Eats, and they're still like, wow, food can come to our house. Like right before we got on, I sent them some Uber Eats from their favorite restaurant.
Nice.
And my grandma says, I'm taking that LifeShare to my retirement, not my retirement, I'm sorry, my seniors club tomorrow. All the ladies want to sign up. So my grandma is, she's on Facebook. She, uses her computer every day, and having conversations with her like, Grandma, is this something that at 93 years old, that's phenomenal. There are not many 90 plus year olds that are still into technology, but is this something that you can understand? Is this something that your friends can understand? And so just making it so our retired community, our senior community, it still feels like it's something they can navigate while being as innovative as possible.
I love that. I love the focus on keeping it accessible, and I really love the idea of starting that community as you talk about what's on your roadmap. So thanks for your time today.
Thank you, ladies.
Hearing more about what's coming from LifeShare.
Absolutely. And so if anyone listening is interested, you can visit www.lifeshare, that's with a Y, L-Y-F-E, share.io. Sign up for a free trial. We've got a 14-day free trial. Our annual packages are extremely affordable. And, check it out for yourselves. And if anyone wants to have a bigger conversation than that, we love partners. We love new friends. They can reach me directly at nicole@lifeshare.io.
Thanks so much, Nicole.
Thanks for your
It's
time.
great having you today.
Thanks, ladies.
Well, it's great to be here. We're at Medicarians Retiretech 2024, and I cannot believe it. It's amazing. Tisa, what's going on?
Well, Mary, we're getting into the later part of the afternoon here. The floor is busy. We're meeting a lot of great new connections, and excited to hear from our guest that's joining us now.
Absolutely. I can't wait to introduce her. Her name is Rebecca Edelman. And Rebecca, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and what you do and why you're here at Medicarians Retiretech 2024.
Well, thank you. I am just so glad to be here on this podcast, and thank you for having me. And it's so nice to meet you. And this is my first Medicarians, so I'm very excited about that also. So I'm Rebecca Edelman, and I'm really kind of a serial entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur with a law license. That's what I'll tell you. And I have a law firm in Memphis, Tennessee. I've been practicing law for 35 plus years. And my focus and my passion is in senior living, so senior care. So I've been representing senior care and stakeholders in the senior care industry for 30 plus years. So that's where I show up, a lot on the litigation side, defending senior care, a lot on the insurance side, working with underwriters, professional liability insurance, and risk management and risk solutions. So, and the reason I'm here at Medicarians is to share program and an expectations management program to help residents, families, and our senior care providers at transitions of care to understand better what to expect, and ultimately, through that process, to reduce losses, financial losses, mitigate risks, improve quality of care. So that's what I'm doing here. That's the long version of it.
That sounds great.
It does. So I love to hear, protecting best interest of seniors. It sounds like you've been an advocate for this work for a long time. So can you talk to us a little bit more about, sounds like some technology or the platform or the way that, that this new tool works?
Yeah. So for the residents and their families, what I have found over the many years, and keep in mind, as a lawyer, I've probably taken the testimony of thousands of family members who have loved ones transitioning into assisted living or into skilled communities. And what we found is that there are really 5 key areas where there are either misunderstandings, unmet needs, and expectations. So I've created a survey that residents and their families complete upon or near the time of admission to a new community that covers the 5 questions each in these 5 areas: communications, the family system, the aging process, goals of care, and spiritual and emotional health. Those are 5 areas that many residents and families don't understand are going to be very central to their transitions. So they answer these questions, takes about 8 and 10 minutes, and the tool generates a risk rating in these areas. So the community gets to see from a high, medium, low risk profile where these families might need more attention, they might need more understanding, they might need more education, where they want, what their experiences have been along the continuum of care in healthcare, positive experiences, negative experiences, and kind of where the areas are where they're going to need some attention along the continuum, where we can help them set and manage expectations. And so that's what the tool is. And then with the survey suite comes a high-risk roadmap, giving the communities some really proactive, immediate initiatives in order to engage with the residents and their families. And then we've got other resources, a whole family education video series that in these 5 different areas gives them about 3 or 4 minutes of education and training about what they might expect. So it really is about promoting this care partnership, because oftentimes, what we have found is that the person who's been caring for their loved one for so much time before they have to transition, they don't really understand what's going to happen to them, right?
Yeah, they kind of lose their role. They don't know where they fit in.
It's never really defined for them. So the program is really also has a real strong focus on that. Like moving from, normally what we see is we see a caregiver moving to a care supervisor role. Like they start supervising everyone's care in senior living. Like my mom used to do this, my dad used to do this, why isn't this happening? You're missing an opportunity, my dad's not eating, whatever it might be. To then create a care partnership and to help them define their new role when their loved one transitions to senior living.
That's like a very big aha moment, what you just said, as far as the difference of partnership versus supervising. And I just can immediately think through the shift of what that looks like. So it sounds like your tool's a really great resource, and just sort of resets those expectations, but more importantly defines those roles and responsibilities. So I was going to ask you, who were you looking to meet here at Medicarians? What are the types of partners that are going to help your company get to the next level?
That's a great question. We're sort of, in some ways we're kind of a fish out of water, right? Being here, because we're in the senior living space. However, when you really think about it, the beneficiaries of Medicare, right, really ultimately are going to be with us, in senior living somewhere along time. They're going to be with us. So it's important for me, for our company, for the space where I am, to be keeping an eye on what's going on and learning more about what's going on in the Medicare space. So one, I'm here to meet people to educate me and our team about what's going on in Medicare changes, regulatory changes, right? And because our product and our whole resource, and it includes also a whole curriculum, a certification curriculum for the community. So we're not just ending it with the residents and their families in the survey. We have a whole 9-module education for a certification program for the communities, so they learn then how to manage the expectations along the continuum. So I'm also looking to meet other innovators in the space, right? Because really what we're talking about is how to move from kind of this passive healthcare world that we're in to a really proactive world, like encouraging and promoting people to be empowered with their wellness. And so meeting other innovators and people who have that same message and who are looking to partner, network with an organization like ours that can be, there's so many different ways that you could sort of leverage the power of our program. So
Rebecca, as we kind of draw to a close, I'm really curious, what was it, or was there something that kind of, because I know you said you were a serial entrepreneur, so that's amazing. I know you're a lawyer, you mentioned that. But what drove you to create this company? Was it anything in your life or something that you saw, or is it just the changing world we're living? I'm just curious. I know it's a loaded question.
No, it is so not a loaded question. I have a very simple answer for that, and that is my dad.
Oh.
It's always personal when it comes to this stuff. And I was on, my dad was like my superhero.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's my superhero, for sure. And I was with him on his journey, through Alzheimer's dementia, took care of him, and had many of these same questions that we ask these families. And so ultimately it was the inspiration of my father's passing that caused me to want to create and curate resources for other people who are like me. So,
I love that. And many times our guests on Prime Life podcast, they're in the innovation space, or they've created a company based on experience, something they've felt very deeply about due to, a family tragedy, a family situation, and I love that you're trying to help others, maybe have an easier path than perhaps you did, even though I know that you have a lot of knowledge and experience in the space that you've been in for 30-something years, as you mentioned. Tisa, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I was just going to say that I can relate to your story. I had to work through placing my dad into a senior living facility, and unfortunately, not fully understanding what his needs were, he was placed in the wrong type of community first. So going through a very major move from his home where he lived independently into a facility to find out it was the wrong facility, to have to move him again and have some situations there right off the bat. So just being able to relate to the importance of being really clear on what the needs are, both for the family, the individual senior who's being cared for, and the community where the senior is being placed. So I think the work you're doing is much needed. And I would say from a Medicarians perspective, Retiretech perspective, I think it was intentional to grow this conference from MedSep to senior health and wealth. And I think that's exactly what you're doing. So I'm really excited that you stopped by today and talked to us.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Just great. I appreciate it. Thanks for the support.
If someone wants to get a hold of you, if they're interested in learning more, what's the best way, Rebecca?
You can just go to GuidePath, which is www.guidepathlllc.com, and there's an info at, and you can find us there. And if you just plug my name in, you'll find me everywhere there is senior care.
That's great. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, wow. Appreciate it.
We are live here with Prime Life Podcast at Medicarians and Retiretech 2024. Excited to kick off this episode and introduce our next guest, Scott Miller. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Thanks, Tisa. My name's Scott Miller, and I'm with Seniority Benefit Group out of Dublin, Ohio, in the middle of the state, Columbus, Ohio, the capital, right? We're just northwest of that. We are a Medicare guidance firm. We've been operating for about 15 years as a Medicare guidance firm. And what I mean by that is we help seniors find the right Medicare plan for them when they turn 65, they retire, or they're already on Medicare and they need to switch plans. We have 15 employees, and totally focused on Medicare and Medicare products, Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, and prescription drug plans.
Great, thanks, Scott. So Mary's here as my co-host this afternoon. Mary, you have a first question for Scott?
I do. I'm very curious, Scott, as to why you're doing this. Like, how did you get into this business, and what have you learned along the way?
Great question. Started in the business in the group employee benefit side. So marketing to mid and small and mid-sized companies, and we grew that business significantly. And what I found was through that experience, I really enjoyed helping the senior members of these small groups and these employers. So I would often help the owner or the owner's family with their Medicare plan, and I really enjoyed it. I just loved it. And as when the Affordable Care Act came out in 2012-ish, we decided to transition fully into the Medicare space, and we found that weren't a lot of companies focusing just on that. Mm-hmm. They were doing other products, other things, and so we put a primary focus on that, and we've grown our business, and today I think we serve over 22,000 seniors in Ohio and 17 other states.
Great. So how are your clients or your seniors finding you or coming to you?
Another great question. We work through several, I call them referral sources, but we work with, I have a little bias for working with groups, so we'll go to a large employer like a big hospital system and say, hey, I noticed you don't have a formal retiree program. How can we can become a resource for your retirees? So, for example, we have the largest hospital system in Ohio as a client, and they have probably 2,000 to 3,000 people retire a year, and we're the primary resource for that company. So that's one source. Of course, as you grow, word of mouth comes very popular. We get a lot of client referrals. We work through a lot of financial planners that refer us business and gaining their trust. And so we also do a lot of work with doctor practices or offices, primary care physicians. So if you think about it this way, we work with a lot of financial planners and doctors. They're referring us. That's a trusted advisor of a senior. Mm-hmm. And when that trusted advisor says, hey, work with Seniority Benefit Group, work with these folks, that carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Well, I love that, and I always say, and Tisa's heard me say this, someone has to know you, like you, and trust you. And, it sounds cliche, but there are a lot of great people out there, but it's also can be challenging for some people to find someone they can really trust. And let's face it, this is a very, very critical point in time. Well, I think all of our life we're in transition, we have this journey, everyone's journey is unique, but I think being able to find someone like yourself, your company, and the businesses that you mentioned, the hospital, is really nice, especially with all the things that have changed over the last, 10 years, maybe longer. I mean, we're always in a transition of change. And
yeah, every year, right? It feels like something's new every year around either the regulatory environment or the plans or a little bit of what consumers are needing or what they're asking for. So yeah, it's an ever evolving landscape. So I think having a resource like yours, and I think where you're going, Mary, was this more vulnerable market. That there are a lot of good people, but there are some bad people out there that do prey on that senior market, and so making sure that they have a trusted resource like yours is key.
It's a time of high anxiety for seniors turning 65. Think about this, they've worked somewhere, or their spouses worked somewhere for their entire lives, and all of a sudden that HR department's not there to take care of them anymore. Mm-hmm. And so they're kind of out in the wild, if you will, and they need a voice that they can trust. And so that's the kind of operation we aim to be. For this event, Medicarians that were out here, we chose this event to bring our entire office staff out here. So we had our company retreat out here with Medicarians, because one of the things that we want to emphasize is we want our employees to be involved in the industry and be, as you said, on the up and up, and not be taking shortcuts. And so this was a great environment for them to see others in our industry and how they perform. And so it's been a success already. They just went home today, and we're going to be here for the rest of the week. So
definitely sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
And I love to hear you're investing in your people, helping them, right, be up on the industry and bring the best of what they can to your clients. Before we move into wrapping up, I actually am just curious, if possible, can you briefly describe what the client interaction looks like? Working with your firm, is it in-person conversation? Is it 3 appointments, 1 appointment? Is there survey? Like, kind of how does that fact-finding or discovery process go?
Great question. Another great question. I would tell you primarily in-person or virtual, phone or Teams or Zoom meeting, but and that happened more after COVID.
Of course, yeah.
But there's nothing that replaces a face-to-face visit. People tend to come to our office, or if we're working with a financial planner, we might go to their office. But the interaction starts with, we have an intake survey that we utilized with Retire Flow, that we utilized to get the key information from our folks even before we sit down with them. So we have their drugs, doctors, hospitals, and that information already before the first meeting. So that's our introductory process. I would share with you, because of some of those efficiencies, our meetings tend to be one meeting, and people always say, hey, what do you recommend? And I'm like, the answer kind of comes forward with our advisors through our process. It's not as if that answer kind of comes forward. Are we going to go the Medicare supplement route? Are we going to go the Medicare Advantage route? That kind of key information comes forward in our meeting, and we strive to be professional, trusting, comprehensive agency, and year over year we will make sure we're making that they're in the proper plan each and every year.
Review it every year. Yeah, it's great. It sounds tailored, it sounds personal, so I can see why you've had some success over the last 15 years or so.
So before we wrap up, one last question, and then you can let folks know how to get a hold of you if they're interested in working with you or learning about what you do. We tend to ask most of our guests, you did talk a little bit about how you got into the business, but what's your why? You could probably wake up every day and do something else, Why do you do what you do today?
It started with, like I mentioned, that I really had a lot of satisfaction helping that senior get through that anxious time. That's how it started. And where it is now is I wake up every day and I'm thankful for the employees and the team I have. I think that's what gets me going. I mean, seeing our folks out here in a different environment, 15 strong of them out here, that's what makes it, and seeing their success and seeing them, like working with seniors, seeing them get them through the finish line and helping them, that's a reward. My dad once said to me, he goes, if your employees and the folks that work for you are successful, you're successful. And I believe in that.
I believe in that too.
I do as well. I love that. That's great. What's the best way for individuals to get a hold of you, or companies, whatever?
The best way to get a hold of me would probably go to our website at www.shopyourplan.com. That would probably be the best way to get a hold of me, and my information's on there, and they can reach out to me, and I'd love to hear from folks.
Great. Thanks for your time, Scott. We appreciate it. And what keeps you interested. At the end of the day, you're able to make a living helping people, and that feels good. So tell us maybe what's ahead for the firm as you're scaling, 6 months, 12 months out, anything that you're particularly excited about, or maybe what you're looking to achieve while attending Medicarians as far as new connections?
Yeah, so I came here to, like you said, focus on scaling the business. We've developed a strong reputation in Washington State. More than 2 people can handle Jeff and I. So I'm here looking for connections to make with other people, find out what systems they're using internally, specifically CRMs to grow our business and scale. Right now I'm working pretty it's all very manual, and that's not okay in this day and age. It's time to go digital. Seniors are going digital, so Team Health Insurance is planning to go more digital, and that's sort of what I've been brought on to do. And so I'm here to kind of connect with all of you, meet other people, and find out what everybody else is doing to make their businesses so successful and grow. I'm only 26, so I haven't been in this industry long. There's a lot to learn, and so I've been learning a lot from these people, and I'm not one that's shy to, like I said, step in a door where I'm not comfortable, because I think you learn the most in those spaces.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
My question is, and my final question is, what would you say to other young professionals about dipping their toe into the insurance world?
I think it's a very fruitful world. Like I said, I think you can help people, and I think there's money to be made because it's a, consistent industry. Health insurance is not going anywhere. It's growing, and being here at Medicarians, I'm learning that it's growing. And I think a lot of college students and young people in general are going to college, and they want big name jobs. They want to work at Amazon. They want to work at Google. They want to work at the big tech companies that probably look really, really fancy and nice on their resumes. But I'd say my recommendation for anybody is really look at an opportunity and see what it can do for you, and then see what you can do for it. And if it's a door that you think you can step into and be successful, then everything will come after that. So, don't be afraid to, talk to someone wherever you are, and if they offer you an opportunity, consider it, think about it, research it. Don't just be like, you're not Amazon, that's what I'm looking for, and wait. Just step in a door, get to work, and just watch yourself progress.
I think that's really great advice, and I think, just thinking beyond maybe the expected path is kind of what I'm hearing you say, right? Like, life throws curveballs, and you've taken those curveballs and you've taken them as opportunity, not kind of end of the road, but start of the road types of opportunity. So I think, really, I'm going to say wise beyond your years, but wise beyond your years, your ability to just sort of overcome, right, those challenges and turn it into something that's fruitful for you. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you so
and
much.
More great success ahead.
I agree with that. I mean, I enjoyed my conversation yesterday with Stefan. I was very impressed with what he had to say and the wisdom that he holds, at this current, part of your career journey. If anyone's interested in getting a hold of you, how should they maybe reach out to you if they want to maybe work with your company, or just, talk to you in general about your expertise in the insurance industry that you've obtained to date?
Sure, yeah. I love advising people in general. Like you said, I kind of stepped in a lot of doors at a very young age, and I think it's very scary when you're young and growing up. I mean, who knows what companies build the bolts that hold together this microphone, but that's a business, and it's open and it's out there. And so reach out to me. Let's talk about those doors and opportunities that might be for you. And yeah, maybe, Team Health Insurance, we are scaling, we are growing, so there might be opportunities for people at our company as well. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can, send me an email, stefan@teamhealthins.com, and, always happy to connect, whether it be via Zoom, in person, via call, whatever works.
That's great. Well, thanks for your time, Stefan.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. So we are here with another episode of Prime Life Podcast, and sad to say, this is likely our last recording of the day. End of day 3 here at Medicarians 2024 and Retiretech. Mary, how you feeling?
I'm excited because of our guest. I guess you say save the best for last, if I don't mind myself saying. But I'm getting a little bit sad. There's so much energy here. It's not that we're not going back to energy where we are from, but it's been a lot of learning and just seeing people we haven't seen for a year, and it's always good to give a hug and say hey, and of course want to hear what you've been up to. And so take it away, Audrey.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me back. This was such a blast last year. So to run into you again, it's just blessings on blessings. So thank you again so much for having me. We had a really, really awesome year, especially myself. Kind of the cool part is everything I told you I was going to do last year, I did the damn thing.
Oh, yes.
So I launched my women's event. I launched my women's network. We also launched our Agent Builder program, which is bringing more and more young people into the agency especially. We're not super biased on who wants to come in. Anyone's welcome. But again, kind of like my goals and everything, I was really passionate about bringing more women and more young people into this industry just because we don't have a lot of that as it is and everything. Not saying we don't already have some super, super phenomenal younger forces, and we know we have some really badass women in this industry already and everything. So those would be kind of my top two. I did it, and it's just been awesome.
Great. So, like Mary said, we were so excited to be able to re-invite you back on and have you return to the show after the time we spent with you last year. Love to hear you knocked all of your goals out of the park. Talk to us a little bit about what new goals are for 2024 and going into 25.
Great question. So personally, I have gotten really into licensing more of my friends who just haven't quite found their career path and everything. So I'm working on 4 or 5 of my other very good friends to get licensed right now, and just placing them in the right mentorship situation with another agency that's already, doing very, very well, but, having the growing pains. So we need to bring on more people for them. So it's been kind of fun and a little bit of self-serving, to be completely honest.
Who doesn't want to work with their friends?
Right, I get to build my friends and, just sharing the joy of this industry and everything. So hoping to just completely, continue capitalizing on that, giving more opportunities to the people I love in my network and everything. But then also just there are so many new exciting different technologies and relationships that are now, we didn't have a year ago.
Yeah.
So another huge part of what I'm trying to accomplish this year is integrating a lot more social media and how that's going to attract more clients for my agents and everything. So big part of that is just making the right strategic partnerships, and the cool part is you get to be your friends at the end of the day too. So just kind of building in that village mentality and just doing whatever I can to bring to my agents biggest, best, next best, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the technology is kind of where I'm really leaning in this next year as well. I've slowly kind of been getting into more and more social media, and the beautiful thing is it's become an awesome referral source for my agents. Just kind of putting out like, hey, this is what we do. Insurance is also super fun, and this is the side of it I can show you that is super fun and everything. And it's just been bang swish for getting more business in front of my people, and then also just, hey, this industry is actually really, really special. We need more people in it and everything.
Yeah, more good people. What one of the goals you talked about from last year as far as bringing, I'll say, new representation into the industry, and you talked about, younger people, younger agents picking this as a career. I'm curious what you're sharing with them on sort of the why. Why our industry? You just said it's super fun, and I agree. But kind of what else? What are the selling points, or how are you positioning the agent career track to those younger professionals?
So I live kind of on the health Medicare side of the house for our agency and everything. So we kind of are going to have this mass exodus of retirement here within this next 10 years. The boomers are, they did their thing, and now they need to go off into the sunset and enjoy that retirement. They built a super successful business. So how about we find someone to go in there so you can go enjoy your life now off of everything that you've built. Mm-hmm. So kind of looking at those different agencies and everything, okay, who do you need? What kind of person are you looking for? And then on the flip side, going to different events and stuff, that we're going to see those younger people kind of looking for a new opportunity. So job fairs. Personally, I'm really good at networking at any bar I'm at. So that's kind of where I'm able to find a lot of newer people and everything, because, your younger crowd's usually the bar flies and everything. So just kind of giving them that opportunity, like, hey, you can be incredibly successful in this business, and at the end of the day, you are helping someone with something that they don't know how to help themselves with. Mm-hmm. And that is such a blessing and a beautiful burden to put on yourself. And it really, I don't think, is a burden. But we have such a valuable job as people who can provide insurance. So being able to help them understand just how incredibly useful that is, and then also being able to build the kind of life you want. And the cool thing is too, with my agents too, like, let's do something you really like that's going to be attractive to clients. So I have a couple of agents that like really love pickleball, so I help them sponsor some pickleball tournaments, for prospective clientele and everything. But like, it's fun. It's attractive. Right. That's something that they're going to keep doing, but they've also just built such a presence in that community. It's a bang swish for bringing anything in. They've just become that household name within that community. Hey, I know that John Smith does Medicare, and I'm having a pretty important birthday coming up here. So just kind of really helping them hone in, like, this can be exactly what you want it to be for yourself, but then the best thing for everyone that you're going to touch on the way. So
we've heard, I want to say maybe with all of our guests over the last 3 days, we've heard the help theme. This is the help industry. We're helping people. We need more good people with sort of that honest intent and integrity. Mm-hmm. It's been a theme. So it's more of a comment, not a question, but I totally agree with what you describe as the reasons to get into the industry.
Absolutely.
No, that's spot on. I was looking at Tisa with a smile because you're spot on. We've heard that multiple times. And what I really loved is the pickleball thing, though, of course, and Tisa knows that, because that's what people are interested. It's very popular right now, so I think it's smart. I think it's about meeting people where they are, but also trying to provide information in a way where someone's doing something they love, or that's kind of really a trend right now. And so I think that's really smart. And I love how marketing is been very transformational, and there's of course you were talking about social media, which I loved hearing about that. We're in the digital space. You talked about the silver tsunami, which is absolutely true, but I think it's also that we're never going to get away from that human touch. So it's like humanizing what we're doing in the digital space, humanizing the events that you were talking about, the pickleball tournaments or whatever you were sharing regarding sponsoring that. So getting those agents in front of people when they're doing something that they love. So again, it's like, okay, you're building relationships, you're building that trust factor, which I think is really important. But what I'm curious about is, what are some of the comments that you're getting from some of the individuals that you mentioned, some of your friends that you're getting into the business? Like, what are they sharing with you as they've had a few of their first successes? Like, what are they saying to you? They're saying, Audrey, what?
Yeah, so I try to be really transparent about how these first couple of years are going to go, especially just because this is a slow burn at first. Like, there is just so much to learn. It's such information overload and everything. So I would say a lot of my feedback is, I just learned that this is a thing, and like, how do I do this now with it? Okay, great question. I'm so glad that you're asking this, because now you're going to understand why we do it that way and everything. And a lot of other questions are just, how do I get really successful quickly? And honestly, sometimes you won't. I mean, and just, being very flat out about it. But at the same time, you put in the work, you get the results and everything. So let me tee you up with all the tools you need, all the education, training. I'm going to put you in front of the right people and whatnot. And then they give me a lot of free room to grow. So give me an idea, let's run with it type of thing. So a lot of it more so is just, holy crap, I'm learning all this new stuff. How do I do this with that and whatnot? Or like, hey, how do I market this the right way? But I mean, for the most part, been incredibly positive. So good feedback so far.
And it's good you're being honest. Like, it's going to be hard work, and it's going to take time. So just stick with it and trust me, and you're there to support them with the resources through the process.
Yes, and I mean, not to knock anyone else, but I mean, we do just get a lot of feedback, like from those who come from other places, like, I mean, we get promised all this stuff, this is what it's supposed to be and whatnot. It's like, well, we have a 3-week program. How about we go through that so we make sure that you know everything that you need to know and all that kind of stuff. And just, again, taking that relationship to the next level. Like, I don't want you just putting contracts through me. I want to be invested in a mutually beneficial long-term relationship where I can make sure you're happy, because if you're happy, I'm happy, right?
Yeah. So true.
Yeah, the transparency that you're showing and creating up front with new agents, I feel like that has like a trickle-down effect, because you're being honest and transparent with them as a style of bringing them in from a training perspective. And I can't help but think that then that translates to how they interact with clients too, right? Like, you're setting that expectation up front too, which helps with the sustainability of their business, because obviously, if they're transparent and their clients trust and feel like they're getting honest answers, that they're going to stick around and they're going to refer, like you mentioned. That referral is key to getting the next piece of business.
And the fantastic part too is like we've been able to do this with some of our agents and grow them to where they are now. Now they are wanting to help that next person coming in, and that is just such a beautiful thing to see. So I like to think we're doing this the right way, and it's working how it's supposed to, and it is working exactly how it's supposed to. So it's just been such a blessing of a year.
I think you're pointing out authentic leadership, and Tisa and I talk about this a lot. Tisa's actually my supervisor, and she starts to laugh when I say this, but she's amazing. Like, she's the type of leader and woman leader that lifts other women up. And
I completely agree, Tisa.
And I love that. And it's really refreshing.
Shucks, guys.
No, it's really nice. And I say that very sincerely because I think as women, and I know I'm going a little bit in a different tangent here, but we need to continue to build more women to do so, to lift, because, again, this is just my little opinion. I think we need to do a better job at that. And I see that as a trend with younger women, and I love seeing that. And I think it's great to have role models like yourself, and being transparent about, like, look, anything you do in life that's worth it is going to take a lot of investment of time and energy. You have to love what you do. You're always going to have challenges and roadblocks. But I think having someone that you can go to when you do have a question or a challenge, and again, and you're not promising them giving them false hope, or you're not being transparent with them, I think it's really important, because life's too short to be not happy. And I think what you said, Tisa, is exactly right. When you're happy, they're going to be happy. Mm-hmm. They're going to it's going to translate to their clients, and everyone's going to be more successful.
Definitely. So, Audrey, as we start to wrap up our final episode of Medicarians Retiretech 2024, if our listeners are interested in connecting with you, maybe to understand some of your strategies of what you're doing for recruitment, creativity on the event marketing front, how can they reach you?
Yep, so I think best way, and then to just really understand who I am and who we are as a company, is going to be the socials. So TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. The username on pretty much all of them is IFC Audrey, AUDREY, IFC Audrey. So I look forward to hearing from all of you. And ladies, thank you so much. Again, such a blessing that I got to run into you again, and thank you for having me.
Same here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
It's been great to see you. Thanks so much, Audrey. Whew, I can't believe day 3 of Medicarians Retiretech 2024. This has been so amazing this year. I know that sounds cliche, but it truly has. I'm still amazed by the number of organizations, companies, individuals all coming together to really talk about retirement, anything, any product, service, whatever, in the retirement space. And just goes way beyond my expectations. Tisa, what do you think?
I would agree. It's we're on a roll here in Vegas, trying to drink lots of water, and the time difference from the East Coast is definitely catching up with us. But excited for our next guest on Prime Life today.
Hi, I'm Cindy Jordan, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Pix Health.
Great. Talk to us, Cindy, a little bit about why you founded Pix Health and what your firm does.
So I actually owned and sold a healthcare IT startup company, and really wasn't interested in kind of getting back into it. But in 2017, my stepdaughter, who was an adult at the time, ended up being diagnosed with bipolar that year. And what led up to that is that, she was going in and out of the emergency room, and we didn't know. And then she ended up in an inpatient facility. And so I'm totally a fixer. It's just how I'm built. So when I went to her and I said, what comes first before the wheels go off the bus? Like, how do we stop this? And she talked about being lonely. And I said, well, you're not alone. You live with a roommate, you come to family dinner. And it was in that moment that I became obsessed with figuring out loneliness. Of course, this is pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. And, it really is not about physically being alone. It is a mental health condition that rewires the brain into believing that no one and nothing can help you. And that's where she was. So fast forward to 2021, and she ended up passing away. She basically just lost her struggle. And the last text she sent anyone in the world, she said she was lonely. And so for me, Pix Health is about helping, any family not have to go through what we go through. And it's not, loneliness is interesting because it does not cut across demographics the way you would think. A 26-year-old can be as lonely as an 82-year-old because it literally is, it is a betrayal of the brain. And so that's why we're here. Now, we're in 93 markets and we cover 8 million lives, both Medicaid and Medicare. And so, hoping we're doing her proud.
Yeah. I'm first of all sorry for your great loss, but I am also inspired to hear that it spurred and sparked, a new mission and passion for you to help others. Right? You couldn't fully help her, but it set you on a journey or a trajectory to do something different. So, and we know because of stats and data and surveys, in particular, the market that this conference is focused on, seniors do experience that loneliness, maybe at a higher rate. I'm not sure. Maybe you could share some of the data around seniors and some of the work that Pix Health is doing specifically in the senior market.
Yeah, I mean, seniors do have a high propensity to be lonely. 1 in 3, 73%. There's numbers out there all over the place. I think the mistake that we make as an industry when we're thinking about seniors and loneliness is that we just try to find those folks that are maybe widowed or widowers, live alone, and that's missing the whole point of chronic loneliness. People who are chronically lonely often hide in plain sight. They live in homes with other folks. They might even live in a retirement home, but chronic finding it is critical because particularly for seniors, if you are in that point of that high acuity, it increases your mortality rate by 26%. So it's very serious.
Yeah, that's very significant. Yeah, difference.
What I'd like to know, Cindy, is, so what are some of the warning signs? Can you share that? Because, again, like Tisa said, it's so heartbreaking, so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
But then when you said something that really hit me right in the heart, is that individuals are in plain sight. They're in plain sight, and they're around family. You talked about family dinners, and you see. I just met you, but you seem like a very wonderful human.
No, thank you.
I'm sure you are, and so that's so worrisome to me. And now I'm thinking, are there people I know within my own family, or friends, or coworkers that are experiencing this, and maybe I don't know that? And is there something
to be more aware of?
Yeah. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think some of the, literally the really early signs, when you're kind of on the, what we call the rising risk, are just things like, the people start to pull away. So things they may have done before, and I'll give you an example, I'll use my mother-in-law, she's plays golf on these days and she does bridge on these days, and actually this is a true story, she stopped kind of going to bridge and you could see her pulling away, and she was struggling, and it turned out it was because she had knee issues and it was making her depressed and all those things. So that's the early sign. Fast forward a little bit, and this is how we find folks at Pix, because we reach out to people when we work with health plans. We'll get big member lists and we'll find those folks. They'll stop taking their medicine. They'll stop utilizing the healthcare system inappropriately. So what I mean by that, and this goes back to Riley, we didn't know this because she was an adult, but she had been in the emergency room 3 times that year. And it was centered around loneliness. Calling an ambulance, using maybe a suicide prevention line, but really it's small little things. They happen stop, their appetite will change, their eating habits will change. And so that's how we kind of find these folks. There are signs, but we don't, because generally speaking, you may not be feeling lonely, and so that's not where your brain is going to go. You're not going to say, oh, I wonder if if she's lonely. And in seniors in particular, we find that particularly over the age of 70, they don't like to admit it. There's a stigma attached with saying, particularly, I can't tell you how many times I've heard on the phone calls, oh, I live with my daughter, but I'm so lonely and I don't know how to tell her that.
Yeah. I can imagine some of that feeling a little bit like, and I'm just speculating, I could just hear myself based on my personality, not wanting to hurt someone's feelings, and also I think those that maybe are of that age and older, I think, and that's what's so interesting about when we talk about mental health in general, I love that people talk about it now, and where years ago it seemed like not as many people wanted to talk about it or felt comfortable or felt maybe embarrassed or ashamed, because it's like you're thinking maybe what could I do, have done wrong or something, I don't know, all these different ideas are swimming in my head. And so when you are working with the companies that you're working with, like what are some of the education that you have to really impart? I'm assuming that could be a chunk of it, because this is still, I think, somewhat nuanced.
Yeah, very much so. In fact, this is a little bit of a shameless plug, but I don't know of another therapeutic intervention for loneliness. I know of companies that'll send, companions into homes with seniors, but that's not treating loneliness. The education is tricky, because you don't want to say, oh, here's your diagnosis. You're lonely. You scored lonely on the evidence-based screening, and so therefore we're going to do 1, 2, 3, or 4. The way we really approach it is to say, look, everyone needs a little help. I call it the stuck in mud. It's where Riley was, where you really believe that no one can help you and they don't understand, not your medicine, not your doctor, etc. So what we try to do is move people through that stuck in mud, get them back to a compliant state of being for their own health, eating, taking their medicine, engaging, and there's ways to do that. So the education is moreover, look, everyone needs a little help along the way. Let us help you. Not, hey, you're lonely. Here I'm coming. I'm going to treat you. It's like,
I love that.
Let me just help.
I love that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's like loneliness is not the physical state. It's the state of mind.
It is.
That no one can relate, no one can understand, no one can help. So it sounds like your company has partnerships with health plan providers, and you're using kind of data and behavior to drive the intervention and reach out. Can you talk a little bit about that piece of it, the contact with the individual and kind of what that intervention process, you just talked about a little bit, but just a little more deeper detail is like kind of how that, is it a phone call, is it just, what does that engagement look like?
So we have, I call it the peanut butter and chocolate solution. So we do have a mobile facing technology, mobile app, and it's a very empathetic app, meaning this is the example I always use. If you and I are going to coffee and I suffer from depression and I sit down, the first thing out of your mouth is not going to be, how's your depression? Have you taken your medicine? Are you compliant? That's what healthcare technology is. It's so greedy. It's about data, move it from point A to point B. We ask the person in the platform how they're doing. And we use this cool little chatbot that's on my jacket right now, and he's funny and he tells jokes, and so we find that our users love it, and frankly, we get a ton of adoption up until about the age of 86, and then it sort of drops off. Mm-hmm. But the reason tech is important is because it's there 24/7, right? However, when we know, and we can usually find out within 3 clicks, that someone's in trouble, or when we onboard them onto it in that first phone call, we can find out that they're in trouble. They'll take an evidence-based screening, they'll tell us about a social determinants of health need. Then this is the chocolate side of the solution, we have over 200 people that are employed with us that are peer mentors, and they're licensed. Some of them are retired clinical social workers, some of them are therapists, but we call them all Andy, and that stands for Authentic, Nurturing, Dependable Your Friend. And when necessary, Andy will literally call you. We don't wait for you to call Andy. Andy will say, hey, I'm calling. Are you okay? Like, what can I do? How can I help? And back to that trust, when you help somebody move through loneliness, which is super intimate and scary, they trust you. And then you can help them with everything. So we then become social health navigators. You need a shower seat, we'll get it. You don't have enough food in the fridge, you don't know how to navigate CVS's phone system to get your prescriptions refilled, we'll do that on the phone with you, on and on and on.
Nice. I love that.
So Andy is the name of the
Peer mentors.
The peer mentors. What's the name of the chatbot?
Oh, Pixar.
Pixar's
Okay, intelligent robot.
I didn't see the back of your jacket. I was just like, okay, now I'm curious. I have to ask.
Yeah, he's
so I
funny.
love the integration, or the combination, I should say, of human and AI technology. So you've got the chatbot, but you also have the 200 individuals with some experience license or just other to reach out and be the partner. Is that ongoing? It's assigned. They're always going to talk to the same Andy, or how does that work?
So 95% of the time they talk to the same Andy. When it doesn't happen is like, say that Andy's on vacation and a need arises. Yeah, there are little exceptions.
But for the most part,
yeah.
it's
But we
dedicated.
also we have an algorithm on the back end that matches folks to shared experience. And what I mean is, we don't have to look the same, but if we've had a shared experience. So I realize this is for seniors, but we do treat a lot of youth, particularly in foster care. And we have a woman who was a social worker and spent 26 years in the foster care system. And she is the most beloved Andy for these kids.
Yeah.
So
she
she's
can
not
relate to their
22,
story.
but she understands, and they love her.
That's really interesting.
No, also I want to say that while we are focusing on the retirement space, the interesting thing is families make decisions together. Families are involved, and Tisa, right, we talk about this all the time in our company, right?
Decision makers, the adult children, advising, doing the research, just assisting navigate whatever process, financially or otherwise, to your point, it's everything from how to log into Instacart.
That's right.
To how to pick a health plan, right?
Yeah. So I love that. And the other thing I'm going to say, it was interesting when you were talking about the technology. I was watching you, Tisa, because of what you do at NASA. Your wheels were turning. And I love that because, like, we always try to, continuity, and we always talk about know, like, trust. Someone has to know you, like you, and trust you. When someone trusts you, they trust you on one thing. They want to go back to you because they know they can count. Even if you say, I don't know, I can't help you, but I know someone who can. So I really think from that perspective, you're definitely onto something very big.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, particularly since we serve on behalf of health plans, people don't just not like their health plan. It's often adversarial with their health plan. And so to have somebody like us who can come in and bridge that gap, help them navigate the system. When we talk to minority folks, it takes 3 phone calls before they will reveal one social determinants of health need to us. Whereas like a white person will do it in the first phone call. And that is because of the mistrust of the healthcare system. And so we need to have many, many, many more of these conversations. We never limit call times. Our average call is 28 minutes long. The idea is that you can run a good, successful business and do the right thing.
I totally agree. You're investing in the places where it matters. Because what I just heard you say is it not only establishes a resource and companion for the individual experiencing loneliness, but it may actually overcome a customer loyalty or a mistrust or some other issue that senior or other client has with the healthcare system.
100%.
And the mistrust that you talked about is deeply rooted and it's generational. So, as a person of a minority background myself, I hear it, I know it, I see it. In particular, given my age and some of the aging folks in my community that I interact with. So you hit the nail on the head, and I think the fact that you kind of went in with, I'll say, one mission or goal, and how it's solving 3 or 4 things, in what you're providing is just phenomenal. So
I mean, look, I always say this company has a heartbeat. Like, we're just following it. It's
That's nice.
just it takes us where it wants us to go.
Great. So, Cindy, we've enjoyed our conversation
really
with
appreciate
you,
it.
and we hope that you are meeting new partners and new opportunities here at Medicarians. If anyone who's listening is interested in getting a hold of you or getting in touch with Pix Health, learning more about Pix Health, what is the best way to reach?
Well, we are in the App Store, and if you put your member ID in, if you're a covered life, it will let you log on.
Okay.
And or you can contact your health plan, or you can go to our website. We do help people even if you're not covered under a health insurance plan.
So
we don't
people can
turn
come
folks
direct
around.
as well.
Yeah, it's pixhealth.com, pyxhealth.com.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
It was great to see you today.
Hello, everyone. Coming to you live from the Medicarians floor here, getting into later in the afternoon on day 3. Mary, how are you feeling over there?
I'm feeling very inspired, but I think I'm getting a little sad, even though, it's nice to go home and, get back to East Coast time. It's been very nostalgic, and it's also been very invigorating to be around so many amazing businesses and individuals behind those businesses.
Totally agree. We were here last year and heard a lot of great stories, and I have to say 2024 so far is topping 2023. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our next guest, Lou, and have him introduce himself and his company.
Hi, well, thanks for inviting me. Don't be sad, it should be fulfilled.
That's good.
So
I
many
like that.
interesting going on. My name is Lou Lim. I'm the CEO of V-Light. We're in the technology of delivering near-infrared light to the brain to stimulate it for better outcomes. And it might not be kind of intuitive to say how light penetrating into the brain. That's not what you normally believe in. But actually it does, near-infrared light does penetrate into the brain to a certain extent and draw a response from the brain, particularly of brain cells. And it gets activated to be better, to restore its normal function, especially if it's not functioning at its, we call it a homeostatic state. So it does that, and it does that because in the process it increases blood circulation, which is kind of a given to people in our field. But the other thing it does is it goes into this, we call it gene transcription process, modify genes and proteins so that it can lead to reduced inflammation, improved what they call integrity. It helps with the production or even growth factors that lead to the production of new brain cells, that leads to healing, and a bunch of very interesting things. So that's the kind of the mechanism in a nutshell. And we do it with a device that's portable. It's available for home use. Now it's available actually to the consumers as FDA kind of recognized it under a category called general wellness, low risk general wellness device. So it's kind of like a consumer product. If we don't expressively make a medical claim, what it does for a medical condition. But we are doing a lot of clinical studies and research to see the impact on everything from a healthy, high-functioning brain like meditators to just normal brains, to see what it does to, the electrical signaling, imaging in real time. You do this and you see the brain responding in real time. So we know that at least the brain responds. Okay, now we come to the clinical outcomes, then we have to do the other bunch of clinical studies. And also to impact brains, this is very much in the, I would say, clinical study leading to hopefully FDA approval. We have some approvals from Health Canada for various things. So that is the long nutshell of what this does.
So thank you for telling us about that. And we do have some of the folks will be able to see video, but others will have to describe. So it's a wearable technology.
Yeah.
Can you just describe a little bit about the actual physical device a little bit more? Just
Is it on video or not, right?
there's
Okay,
a, yeah,
okay, great,
there'll be
okay.
video. Yeah.
So I've got a headset on, so I can't.
Yes.
It's difficult, but generally, it is you just slip it on the head,
Yeah.
and the light is emitted from these LED diodes. They're not off-the-shelf LEDs. They're actually engineered by us
Okay.
to be able to produce a level of power. We call it power density, the concentration of power, enough to penetrate into your brain and cause a response from the brain. Then we have other interesting parts to it, like it pulses at different pulse frequencies. For the moment, this device, it works with the push of a button. So you choose between like alpha or gamma, and people who buy it usually do some research, go to a website and see what alpha does and gamma does. But generally, I say gamma at 40 hertz, 40 times per second pulsing, helps your brain to get to a higher functioning level. And it's usually transient, and it helps with the improving of your function. It helps you to think more clearly. For let's say, this is used quite a lot by elite athletes, for example.
Oh, okay.
And so my protocol for them is used as about half an hour before your event or training. And they usually report, it seems to help. Particularly like impact sport like UFC and football. We know from data that, so far in the clinical studies have a traumatic brain injury. So when you recover from those, you function better. But anyway, if you don't, it's still if you don't have this impairment, you still do. So that's generally at gamma, 40 hertz. And we know, now the question is, okay, does it really do this? We know that when we deliver gamma for this 40 hertz with EEG, the electrical signaling, we really see the brain responding in real time at 40 hertz. So we know for a fact that it does train the brain to produce that. Now, there's the other option is you can switch over to alpha, which is slower, at 10 hertz. And the alpha state is kind of like when you close your eyes, do nothing without performing a task. So you're in an alpha state, and also a network called the default mode network kind of kicks in. This is the network that kicks in when you are not performing a task. But what it does, in theory, is to strengthen the connection in your brain, in the relaxed state. So if you're relaxed, you become more relaxed. But in the background, it does help with this. Now, in clinical, in the literature, let's say for Alzheimer's disease, a lot of the accumulation of, say, the beta amyloid and the lesions of the brain is in the hubs. This point, the areas where the concentration of the activity in the default mode network are. And the idea is that it helps to heal the brain in this. That's why we recommend for, say, in a clinical trial for Alzheimer's, we have published as well, we published studies that's done in 10 hertz alpha and also 40 hertz by UCSF, and they both work. UCSF did a study that they also did imaging with fMRI, where they showed, the perfusion blood flow. Normally in Alzheimer's, you see less and less ability of the brain to have this expression of blood flow after a period of time, because it's a progressively declining disease. I mean, your brain is declining. But Professor Chow of UCSF showed that after 12 weeks, those people with Alzheimer's seem to maintain their ability to have a blood flow, or if not increase. And then in another study that we did with her for traumatic brain injury, on a professional hockey player. He had suffered repetitive traumatic brain injury. Now he we also saw an increase in the volume of the brain. You know, when you have repetitive brain injury over a long history, you may not know it, but the impaired performance is often due to your loss of brain volume. Now, this is a very interesting. It's a breakthrough discovery for us too. So this is kind of example when you go into the clinical side what this is able to do.
So it sounds like, thank you for explaining that for us. So it sounds like there's some opportunity to treat Alzheimer's, dementia. If, just thinking about Medicarians and some of the audience that's here, what are the plans as far as like access? Is that through a healthcare provider? Are we not there yet? We're more still in the clinical trial stages, just trying to think through like customer access and what that might look like. Do they go to their doctor's office for a 30-minute treatment a week? If you can speak to any of that.
Yeah, we got kind of invited by the organizers saying, why don't you try Medicarians, because we're dealing with aging brain. Yeah. And so I said, okay, why not? I didn't know much. To be honest, this is the first time. And we came and we asked ourselves, are we in the right conference? Because we're really not in the business of the Medicarian business as such, you know. But we want to have a track in the long term to be part of Medicare.
Yeah.
And we had some discussion with providers, like Medicare Advantage and so on, and said, yeah, maybe we can package this with what we provide, you know. But we have to say that we have not got FDA approval to say, okay, you'll be able to treat Alzheimer's, although we are planning to do a clinical trial. But FDA has allowed this to be like, okay, anybody can have it, you know, as long as you don't say, it's going to treat Alzheimer's.
Don't make the claims. Yeah.
But it's really up to, I say the providers and the customers to look at the clinical evidence and say, okay, it's not a big study, but is this going to do this and that? But I'll say, anecdotally, there's quite a lot of positive reports, but I can't say, okay, you can base on an anecdotal. But you can, it's available. Go to the website, you can order it directly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah, well, I would just say thanks for coming. This is only year 3 of Medicarians, so it is a newer, community and organization and conference. So, I think you're in the right place. It's all of those in the community talking about seniors, aging, and where it meets up with tech, and redefining retirement. All of these topics and concepts. So, I think that it's a big conference. There's a lot of people here, but I think you're in the right place to start. To meet the right people, to start, making the connections to bring more tech into how we're servicing seniors and how we're problem solving. Thanks for coming. Go ahead, Mary.
I just have a couple of comments, really. So I was intrigued because I came over to you to invite you to the podcast because I said, oh my gosh, people have to know about this. My husband was recently reading some articles about the different, I'm not going to get the terms exactly correct, but you were talking about the alpha and the gamma pulsations and the light, and there have been articles that are out there for consumers talking about different ways that light, I'll call it light therapy, has helped for different things. So I think that's interesting. The other thing I want to say is when I first looked at this, I thought, this looks like James Bond. Really, that's what it felt like to me. But I think this is great. I think we're in a time now where we're looking at, I think, consumers particularly, and even, maybe carriers or whatnot, we're looking at things differently. We have to, because people are living longer and they want to live better longer. And we have all this technology and we've made such huge transformations. We've had guests on Prime Life Podcast that have talked about what's the average age, over 100. People are living longer.
Yeah,
and some of the reasons they're living longer is because of technologies in general. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how you continue to make improvements and also make headway, no pun intended, with your device. So we really appreciate you joining us. What's the best way to get a hold of you if someone's interested?
Yeah, the best way actually is to go to the website. It's www.vielight.com. there's a lot of information. There's a lot of research information. There are links to YouTube educational lectures and stuff like that. There are a lot of links to different kind of research. It also tells you who we are doing research with. And so you get a feel, actually, and you can write into to info, I think it's info@vila.com, and there'll be people answering questions too. That's probably the best way.
Great. Well, we appreciate you joining us on this micro episode of Prime Life podcast, Lou, and wish you continued success.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Hi, I can't believe it's day 3 at Medicarians Retiretech 2024. It's been an amazing experience. We've met some wonderful people, very inspiring. They're all about wanting to help people really live longer, live better. That's what we talk about on our Prime Life podcast. I have an amazing guest, and I can't wait for him to introduce himself. We're going to have a great conversation. And it may take a turn in a more of a vitamin, health and wellness direction, but it's all good. And I think it's important for people to really start digging in a little bit and taking better care of themselves. Go ahead, Patrick.
My name is Patrick Casal. I am the managing partner of the Multicare Group here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've been in the insurance industry. This is my 34th year. And I love what I do. There's nothing better. I mean, it's just helping people. I think I had a real kick in 1994, when one of my clients, Sharon Niels, she was referred to me by my ex-wife, and she said, listen, I have a rollover. This is all my money I have in the world. Can you help me? I said, sure. The last thing she told me when I left her house in 1994 was, this is all I have. Don't lose my money. At the time I took the application, I'm thinking, yes, I made a sale. And as I'm driving home, boom, the hair on the back of my neck stood out. And it's like, somebody's entrusting you with their life's fortune. That's all they have. That's a serious, serious gift they're in putting in you. They're investing in you to take care of them. And she was my client until she passed away some years ago. But it was more important that you take care of the clients first. And I think that this symposium has been amazing. I mean, seriously, unbelievable. I would never miss this. I can't get over how great this has been.
So have you had any aha moments here, like, or any trends that you've learned about that you maybe want to share that you think you can take back with you and help further your business success? And again, maybe business success, but really helping your clients in a better way? I'm just curious.
The answer would be yes. I've been writing health group benefits for almost 34 years, and I do a lot of senior benefits, but I don't write Medicare Advantage as much. I write Medicare supplements, and I was really taken back by the fact that the cost for prescription drug plans may hit $100, $150, $200 in the future over the next 3 to 4 years because of all the things that they're making work in Washington, which are really not working. The government needs to get out of the way when it comes to the healthcare laws because of COVID, a lot of insurance companies had a spike in profit. Well, now they're getting a spike in losses because people are now going to the doctor, and it's really alarming for me because most people want to be able to see their doctor when they can. And that's really one of the reasons why I'm more pro-health. We have to take charge of our health in our lives. Simple things. We need to look at the labels. If it's got sugar, don't buy it. Start taking some vitamins, eating more fresh vegetables, etc.
I know we had a great conversation about that, about health and wellness and diet and exercise. And at Prime Life Podcast, we talked about blue zones, you and I shared that with you. You knew about the blue zones. Can you talk a little bit about, I know that, I know what you do for a living, and I know, the type of, products you're kind of, talking to your customers about, but, we want to put that aside for a minute. What would you say to, this group of individuals that people as they get into their 50s, like, what questions should they be asking themselves? What should they be doing? What kind of planning should they be doing so they can live longer and better?
Well, it's interesting. We always talk about financial planning, but you know what? What good is it if you're sick and you can't spend your money? I think the most important thing that we can do as we get older, I'm 63 years old, so I'm now a senior. It's imperative that we go to the gym. It doesn't matter. You don't have to lift weights. You just need to go work out, maybe 3-4 days a week, at least an hour of your time a day. to keep yourself sharp. I think it's imperative that we stay busy. Most people retire. Isn't it interesting when people retire, they don't last very long?
That's true.
And idle hands are the devil's workshop, because I think if you're active, if you're working and you're staying engaged, you keep your mind healthy, you'll tend not to worry about the Alzheimer's, which we have a lot of dementia in America. I think it has to do with the intake of food, and I think the fact that we get shut down. I think it's imperative that we make sure that we can hear well. A lot of people don't get their hearing checked. They think they're fine. They need to look at the television and realize, wait a minute, that's on 30, 32, 34. There's something wrong. It should be on 20. So maybe get your hearing checked. That can be associated with dementia, because your brain's just not working the way it should. It's very important that we're proactive in staying healthy and frankly, trying to avoid taking medications. A lot of people think, oh, the doctor gives me a medication, it's going to work. Read the contraindications. Yes, it's going to help this, but it's going to cause this, and this to hurt you. So we have to take control of our lives. It's imperative, and nobody else is going to do it for us.
No, I totally agree, and I even I'm fortunate, I do have some wonderful doctors, but I do always go back to what my gut tells me about myself, and I've been trying to be a little bit more proactive about that, because again, we look to medical doctors, medical care professionals, because that's what they are. However, I think we also need to take control of our own lives. And as you said, going to the gym, eating better, taking vitamins, and anything that we can do. And you really hit upon something earlier when we were talking, and you were talking about purpose, living with purpose. Not, like you said, a lot of times people retire and they don't last long. And I always think of my grandmother, and she's been passed away many years, but she worked her whole life and she retired quite young. And I noticed a big change in a short amount of time. Back then I was a kid, I didn't really recognize, but now as I see myself and I see my own parents, that's absolutely the case. So when you're meeting with clients and they're coming to you, do you ever have that conversation with them?
Yeah.
Can you, without naming names, what kinds of questions do people ask you as they are trending upward in their age? Besides the questions they should ask you about, products and then, where they're putting their money, et cetera.
So it's interesting you asked that question. So forget about when you're meeting with a client, it's imperative that you become a better acquaintance, not necessarily friends. It's hard to say I'm friends with everybody, but being an acquaintance is very important. And when you become an acquaintance, you develop a comfort zone where people are open to ask you questions about various things. And you become more of a resource center for that person. And it's imperative that you do this because you develop that relationship and you can start talking about things regarding long-term care, health, how to better prevent you from seeing the doctor. I think that I've talked to many people my own age and a little older. Most of my friends are now older just because I like to migrate that way. And I think mentorship is such an important factor that we're losing in America today. So many seniors offer so much more. You and I growing up, our grandparents were the centers of influence for us.
It's absolutely true.
And it's our heritage, but more importantly, they gave you a base. Yes, your parents are very important in our lives, but grandparents are the granite. Now that I'm a grandparent, I see that. So I think it's important that anyone in this industry, or any industry, especially as you get older, realize you can be a mentor. I coached for 17 years baseball, and I still have contact with my players. It's imperative that you can reach out and touch. Now that I have grandchildren, my intention is to coach with my son when my grandson or my granddaughters play baseball or softball. And to me, that's what's going to keep you alive. That's what's going to keep you young. And if you look at a lot of people that are older in their 80s or whatever, that are active, they don't look their age, they don't act their age. And so to me, it's being busy. And I mean good busy, not sitting in front of the boob tube, 18 hours a day or 12 hours or whatever, watching Fox News or CNN. Let's be alive, be virile, go out and have fun, and walking. I know a few people that are older that are dancing. I'm jealous because my knees are bad, but you know what? What a brilliant move. It keeps you alive.
It does. I think doing things you love, absolutely, and giving back And even those individuals that, later in life go back, you talked about, your mother-in-law going back later in life and getting degrees and then still having a career, because again, it's about continuing to be curious, lifelong learning, whatever that looks like. You were talking about coaching, again, giving back and mentoring. And you're right when you were saying, and maybe it is more of a heritage thing, but grandparents being at the center and teaching us, some of their recipes, even though they never really had them, and they would just throw things into a pot and say, a little of this, a little of that, but really having that family, that bond. And also, we had actually a guest on before you came on, Patrick, and they have a whole organization around loneliness, and it is not just seniors, but it is more predominant, but it's younger people, but that whole aspect that as we age, sometimes we become widowed, sometimes our friends pass away, and it can be lonely. So there's so much to think about, and it's interesting because it sounds like from what you've shared that you approach your customers in a very holistic way, and I love that. And is there any tips that you can share with our listeners from the standpoint of kind of your style and why you believe you've had success in terms of, dealing with people and getting to know people, and as you said earlier, having acquaintances, treating them as acquaintances. Like, can you just share any tips that you have?
I have one word.
What is that?
Love.
Love.
I love what I do.
Yeah,
I love my friends. I love my clients. And I'll tell you something else. I have a very good friend of mine in Chicago who's not doing very well. There's not a time we get off the phone where I don't say I love you and he doesn't say I love me. And I think that we as a society have gotten away from being affectionate. That doesn't mean you have to kiss everybody, but being warm. Yeah. I think if you're warm to people and you tell them how much you make them feel important and you mean it, that's going to be the greatest part of your life. And the best part about it for me, now my daughter is a good job, but she just the other day, she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. My business is tight, economy's rough. I said, if you get your insurance license, I'll get you well trained and we'll build the practice for you there. And to me, what better way is that I can groom my daughter, and if I have grandchildren, I can groom them. Yeah. That's why we can live to 100. Yeah. In the blue zones, if you watch every video on the blue zones, in Italy, Sardinia, Icaria in Greece, and even in Japan, they're all busy. They're all active.
Yes, yeah.
Activity is what breeds contentment. You must be busy. Yeah. You know what? My knees are bad. Okay, so maybe I can't get up and down off the ground. Maybe I can get them fixed. But the most important thing we do as people is we need to be active and we need to help one another. If you have a neighbor, help your neighbor.
Right. Yeah.
Remember the old days when people would move in, they would bring you a cake or something?
Absolutely.
What happened to those days?
Yeah.
That's what makes the world a great place. Love thy neighbor, love yourself, love your friends, and you'll be prosperous.
Yeah, no, I think I love what you just said, no pun intended, and I do believe in that. And I think too, when it's like the golden rule, like treat others the way you would want to be treated. And I do believe that perhaps some of us humans need to do a little bit better job at that. So Patrick, it's been great having you on Prime Life Podcast. If individuals are interested in talking to you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me, you can call me on my cellular, which is also my office line because it's connected, which is 702-286-1014. Or they can email me at Patrick at multicarebenefits.com. Yes, it's a long one, multicarebenefits.com spelled out. Anytime, anybody, any questions, no obligation. I'll be more than happy to help you. Because that's the best part of my industry is helping somebody is a great thing. Yeah. I think you get back a bigger benefit when you help somebody.
I cannot agree more. I really appreciate your time today. Thanks, Patrick.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Medicarians Retiretech 2024. How cool is that? It's just been amazing. I have a co-host here, Tisa.
Hey, Mary. How you doing?
I'm great, but I'm getting a little sad.
Because it's almost time to go.
It is. I am not going to lie. I'm a little tired, and I've been drinking this juice, this pressed juice here, because it's given me energy. But really the best news today is I bumped into an old friend. of the Prime Life podcast. Do you want to introduce him?
He's going to introduce himself, but I am just excited because I did not have the pleasure of being a part of the first recording of Prime Life podcast when he was on, so I get some special access to the influencer himself this afternoon. So we'll turn the mic over to him, let him introduce himself and tell us what what his experience has been at Medicarians so far this week.
Perfect. Wow, what an intro. Thank you very much. I love the casual opening. Obviously, nice to see you again, Mary. Nice to meet you, Tisa. This is my first year at Medicarians. I arrived last night. So for you guys, it's been a great week. For me, it's just been a great day so far. But no, I've been able to meet a lot of people. Finally got to meet people that I've admired and loved and learned from on LinkedIn, and to actually finally see them in person has been really awesome. Finally saw Paul. Got him to do a TikTok video, so that's been really fun. That's honestly my objective for this week, just to get you guys on a TikTok video. I've already met my
your quota.
Exactly, my check boxes for the week. But yeah, I'm happy to reintroduce myself. My name is Stefano Solorio. I'm the founder and CEO of Carevocacy. We're actually a company that creates digital health literacy solutions for older adults. And when we first started back in 2020 during the pandemic, it was actually just me tutoring seniors one at a time, helping them online, getting them used to be tech savvy, and then eventually we started doing online classes and things like that. But really the story began because I'm a personal caregiver to my grandma who's living with Alzheimer's, and especially during that time when it was a lot of, when you're in school trying to figure out what you wanted to do, and also being a caregiver at the time, it kind of really restructured what I wanted to do as a career. And ultimately, I was thinking, you know what? I know I want to be a caregiver for a very long time. I might as well build some sort of business or venture or some sort of opportunity in the space and see what I could do. And then that's where Carevocacy came about. And then throughout the pandemic, we did a lot of work around providing digital literacy classes for older adults to get them tech savvy so they could, talk to their doctor, to have appointments, to talk to their family and loved ones. And then one time, as the pandemic died down in Florida,
that wasn't very long, was it?
Yeah, in their definition of what that looks like. A lot of senior living communities actually reached out to us and said, "We love your energy, what you're doing. We'd love to provide those classes in person again.
Mm-hmm.
Bring those kind of energies to the classroom setting, to the activity centers." And then one thing I really wanted to do was document these moments with these learners. And I started creating TikTok videos with our special students who were learning about technology. And eventually that one video led to a contract that we had with Humana. And that kind of created this kind of snowball effect of working with a lot of older adults. That relationship with Humana allowed us to work in about 19 locations in Miami, serving about 23,000 patients in a span of about a year and a half. And so that was a lot of growth in that little short period of time, especially during that time and when the pandemic was happening, but then also digital literacy was such a big need at the time. So yeah, that's kind of like the work that we've done, and I'm happy to say that we've taken a lot of the things that we've learned from those experiences, those testimonials, those classes, those sessions, to now have built an actual tech product that meets people where they're at. And so last year we launched a product called APO AI, which is called Apo AI. It's actually the Filipino word for grandchild. And it's also the word that my grandma would call me because she didn't know my name. And so she would say, Apo, come over here. Yeah. She couldn't communicate, she just knew that word. And I thought it was so fitting to bridge that culture, bridge that personal experience into a product where now our learners have access to a grandchild that they can text tech questions to.
Yeah.
So that's basically the product now. It's an SMS text-based product where they can just get our phone number and comfortably ask questions without the fear of judgment, especially for those who may not have access to a grandchild that they may have, or a loved one, or someone in their neighborhood that can be, reassuring to answer those questions. And so that's what we're presenting and sharing actually in a few hours or so today at the innovation stage. And we're now in 36 states. So we have users in 36 states who are actively being tech curious, asking questions about technology in a way that they feel comfortable and meeting people where they're at.
There's so much I want to say. First, I just want to say I admire your compassion.
Thank you.
I also admire the wherewithal, the intuitiveness to say, here's a role I'm going to play in life. How do I leverage that in their career? Just being sort of, like you said, in college and figuring out those next steps. There's a lot of different ways you can react to the responsibility of being a caregiver. So the fact that you've been able to use that experience as a really passionate career track for yourself and grow a company is just, it's amazing to me. I wanted to ask you about the process of developing the tech around this sort of, I'll say, chatbot grandchild app that you mentioned. Just a little bit about not necessarily the roadmap getting to that, but just sort of the tech pieces building up, maybe how you built the data behind it or some of the learnings behind it and how it's going so far.
Yeah, so when we first launched, I knew that we were a very tech-enabled service business, right? Providing tutoring and classes is a labor of love kind of work. Wasn't necessarily scalable, isn't always accessible, right? Because it made that person have to physically go to that location. But all that was so important to eventually build a product that understood our users, right? And so for me, it's when I started this business, did I ever think that we would ever run into an AI product? When we first, no. Yeah. But it wasn't until obviously my marketing background came into play and thinking about, okay, where is technology now? Where is digital literacy now? There's so many people who do a lot of the work that we do that are either from the nonprofit or the private sector side. But the thing that they consistently struggle with, that we all can agree with, is scale and accessibility of accessing digital literacy, specifically digital health literacy, which is so important with the work that we do around healthcare and stuff like that. And so to answer your question, Tisa, about how did we come to this point, not to go into the details of how we built it, but it was really just taking what we learned and all those conversations. We saw that when we were doing the classes, they would take a class from us, and then a week later, they'd forget everything that was mentioned about that class. And we're like, okay, we don't have the labor.
Yeah, you can't come back and do another hour
session. We don't
session.
have to do retention, right? And plus, that's just a lot of work to really hold someone accountable for that. I don't expect them to do it too, because it's just a new world for them, right? So, and we didn't have the team at the time to consistently call and check in every single person. Hey, did you learn about how to use your emails? Did you learn about this new scam or fraud or whatsoever? And that also made it difficult because we were answering the problem for them rather than having them be actively curious about the actual solution or the product or the problem around technology. And so I like to say that all that was also great timing. We launched this product literally right when ChatGPT was very big at the time. It still is now, right? It's an ongoing conversation, but we're leveraging generative AI in a very social impact way that I think is very practical and kind of meeting people where they're at, rather than all the things that you probably hear about how AI could be used for. And so it's just a lot of testimonials, a lot of checking in to see this was the thing that they were using. And I love that you said app when it's not an app. It is all text-based, right?
All text-based.
So that means it doesn't require anybody to
download,
download.
no no
stuff
tech
like that.
learning
So,
curves.
exactly.
They're already texting.
There's no browser. Exactly. So the whole point of this product is to be designed for the user of something that they've already know how to use, or most users know how to use, but then remove those barriers of entry. Because ironically, like, if you're going to expect someone to use digital literacy, but then you expect them to use the browser to learn, or like if you tell them, hey, just watch a YouTube video on it, how are they going to get there? Like, how do you? So there were so many questions that we were trying to figure out in creating this product, and that's why we chose that route of not developing an application or another browser, but really meeting people where they're at. It has its own constraints, obviously, because it's text-based.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the users that we have, people have used it in many ways than just technology questions. We've had people ask about plans, party events. We had a learner, ask our AI or our product, how can I send like a loving message to his partner? He asked that for his help to ask that. We had one lady ask our Apple AI, how do I find a good man? Stuff like that, which, sometimes you might lean on somebody else to ask, but...
I was going to mention an app, and I held it back. There's an app for that.
There's an app for that, but then, I feel like that's the common thing in my space to say.
Yeah.
But again, when we start to think about, like, who are we serving, who are end user, suggesting things like that ultimately sometimes, puts them in a disadvantage sometimes.
It would almost be hypocritical. It's like, you're here to offer digital literacy, so let's give you something digital to access that we know you can't access.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's like high tech behind, but low tech for the user experience. So I'll make one last comment, and then I'll turn it over to Mary. I just wanted to make a comment in the observation of the journey of the company, where the product you started with in person classes and webinars to teach turned into like your focus groups or your learning lab that led to your next product, which is the text-based interaction we just talked about. So it's like, but you didn't know, it's like you started in one place, or maybe you knew that's where you're headed, but it seems like it was a very organic kind of journey. And it's just, and to me, it's kind of commenting on the observation of starting down a path, having an idea, and then being open to what the market's demanding, what you're learning from your customers. Not really a pivot, right? Just sort of building onto the next concept and block. So just commending you again for your journey and your the humanness of what you're bringing to your company. So.
And I'm gonna break that shit. I'm kidding. No. Yes.
Yes,
thank you. Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Will I say that not everything was unplanned? No and yes, right? Like, again, as I mentioned before, did I think that we would ever use generative AI to scale the work that we do? I didn't know that until literally 3 months before we launched the product. My software engineer at the time was like, Stefano, look at this new technology that's coming into the pipeline. And I was like, for me immediately, because of how much of experience I had in the space, I was like, wait a minute, let's see how we can use this for the users that we're impacting right now. But I will say, though, because of my background in marketing, I couldn't help but know that what we were doing was that kind of focus group, was that opportunity, to really learn. Because I feel like that's what an entrepreneur should do anyways, right? Like, yes,
Understand
that was
your
our
market.
first business model, but we eventually kind of took those learnings and, yes, kind of not pivot, but really build upon those learnings and create something even better. And I think justifiable, because people now understand why we did that, instead of just any other unfortunate tech bro that says, oh, here's a new tech product that you should try out, but doesn't have any backing or any actual heart behind it. And again, in my space, there's just so many products that are built for older adults that end up not being used because of the lack of studying that demographic. And for me, I like looking at the psychographics, because if you're really working with people who love to learn, that's the types of people that we love to work with. And so, yes, it was very natural, but then at the same time, I was like, when you're like seeing it at the horizon, like, yes, we're almost there. We're learning so much from it. It just, we'll eventually create some sort of product. We don't know exactly what that will be, but I'm grateful, even though we don't have that product, that we're learning from our current existing users in these classes that we're doing.
That's great.
So,
yeah, synergy with what your ideas meeting up with the timing of the Gen AI technology.
I mean, I would just add this, which I think that you are doing an amazing job as a customer-centric business, like in its most authentic form, because there are a lot of companies that say they're customer-centric, but they're not really. And it sounds like you are, and it sounds like you're always putting that lens on no matter what you're doing. It's not like what's easiest for Caravosity or you, Stefan Solorio, or whatever your other employees, but what's best to help your end users, the customers that you keep you care so deeply about. And I know that's part of your story. We've had you on our Prime Life podcast one-on-one more deeply, and you've shared your story. And as we come to a close, just love to hear you briefly just kind of what's your why? Why do you do this every day? And some of our listeners may not have heard the episode, and it was quite a bit ago. So if you could just talk about that, and then we'll kind of close things off, T, so you can close things out.
Yeah. I will just say that ongoing lens comes from the background as an existing and current caregiver to my grandma, where everything you do is meticulously scheduled, breaking down. You're not. I'm here now at the conference, but my mind is also at home, thinking about the fact that my family is preparing her for her breakfast or lunch or dinner. So it's like my mind is always on that and always on the business. So I think it is such a empowering and fulfilling role to be in as a caregiver. And for anybody who's ever taken care of a loved one, how difficult, but also what do you call this? Like, I guess righteous it is to feel to be in that person's life, to be able to do that, and that's kind of, I guess, my why. I feel like, for example, in my space, there's a lot of people who have claimed that they have loved ones, who are going through these problems, but are not necessarily in these problems right now, and so I have that kind of perspective from a founder, creator, entrepreneur, where I get to build products and build it on the foundation of a caregiver. So that truly is like my identity of like what kind of defines why I do the things I do.
Yeah, the righteousness that you talk about, I think there's and correct me if I'm putting words in, there's a pride that comes from families or family members that are in a position to care for loved ones that need that support. So many families, for a variety of reasons, aren't in a position, even if their intention or their heart, their emotion wants to do it. There are many reasons why, a practicality of life and employment, they can't. And so, it is a point of pride, and so I can relate to what you're saying, having been in a position as a caregiver for an aging parent, and having to make some different decisions based on location and other circumstances. So
I was just going to say, I think I coined this term in our previous episode. I'm a very pragmatic optimist. So as you just recalled, like I was dealt with a card that was given to me. I decided to either run with it, hide away from it, cry about it. I decided to do something about it, and then started just look at, what's ahead of me. And I feel like, again, that's a better description of like where my mental state is at when it comes to the work that we do. Awesome.
So I appreciate the opportunity to hear your story, learn your why, and just hear the origin story of your company. If anyone's looking to get in touch with you, Stefano, or learn more about the company, what is the best way that they can reach you?
Mary knows this very well. I'm very connected on LinkedIn.
Yes, okay.
That's where you'll be able to see a lot of the content and the things that we do there. I share a lot about my founder's journey, our company updates, and just the fun connections that I get to have, especially moments like this with you guys. So, Stefano Solorio on LinkedIn.
Fantastic.
We're honored. You're also on TikTok. And that's a whole amazing.
No. Just stay on LinkedIn.
Okay. We'll stay on LinkedIn.
No.
One platform at a time.
One platform. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Especially with
thanks again for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to see you.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.
Yes.